Tonight's session is called The Forgotten. It's the second time I've done this topic. We did one at the end of last year, around about November time, and I kind of had a feeling that there was going to be a few installments of this topic because, believe it or not, probably down to the sheer amount of choice and variety that we have at our disposal today in 2026, there seems to be a lot of whiskies that are forgotten. And I don't mean things that are languishing at the back of your shelf, although it may be the case. I'm talking about brands that have made earnest efforts to give us a good quality product. And for some reason, various reasons, as a community, perhaps, we've stopped talking about them. That's the case, at least for some of the whiskies I've got tonight. Maybe, of course, I'm just talking about myself. I'm gonna share with you 4 or 5 whiskies tonight that I think are languishing a little in our collective shelf. These are brands of potentially great quality whiskies that today in 2026, I put it to you that maybe we have forgotten. Looking forward to it, and I'll see you in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the vPub. Welcome to Thursday night. I hope you're sitting comfortably and I hope that you're doing well. I know that my voice still doesn't sound back to normal, but I'm feeling much, much better. I get better all the time. But if my throat starts to trouble me a wee bit like it has in weeks gone by, we'll just need to struggle through again. But I'm on the mend. I'm getting better all the time. And hopefully it's not off-putting to you. If there's any coughing or spluttering tonight again, I'll be sure to hit the mute button. Anyway, nice to have you all. It's wonderful to welcome you all for a wee bit of whiskey respite, a little bit of quiet time in a crazy world, right? When everything is just pandemonium out there. And it's nice to kind of lean on our whiskey hobby and our contemplation and our quiet moments. And maybe if you're joining us here live tonight, being able to hang out and chat to friends and things, or maybe just kind of sit as a bit of a kind of barfly, and just kind of watch the chat scrolling by as you listen to me waffle on. It's really nice. If you have joined live, I'm very, very grateful. And if you're picking this up on the replay, I'm every bit as grateful. Thank you so much for those of you that are able to do so. And a lot of you out there are treating it a wee bit like a podcast as well. So I'll always try and keep that in mind. I do share at the occasional visual and things like that. So it's down to me, for those who are listening to this through audio only, to try and describe things as best I can. Should be fine tonight. Should be absolutely fine tonight. There's no visual. We're not leaning on much visuals tonight at all. It's all a discussion, and I'm going to share with you a selection of bottles, 3 or 4 of which I've purchased recently, but I've got up to about 5 bottles here tonight that I think are going to be able to give me the opportunity to talk to you about reasons that I think it's easy to forget certain whiskies right now, certain brands, just because of decisions they make, decisions we make, and the sheer amount of decisions that we are asked to make today. It's a wonderful situation to be in. We're spoiled rotten by whiskey selection today in 2026. It's wonderful. And we're seeing the prices soften. We're seeing the secondary market soften even more. We're seeing the prices of bulk whiskey soften. We're seeing everything moving quickly back in the direction of, I think, the community that gather at the side of the vPub. That is the community of drinkers, sharers, sippers, people that are into the flavour, people that are into the liquid first and foremost. So with that in mind, we'll hold up these bottles. Some of them will be uncorkings. 3 or 4 of them will be uncorkings. But I can't imagine there's going to be many surprises tonight, because the majority of the bottles are things that not only have I tried before, I think there's a good chance that 2 or 3 of them you guys have tried before. But I wonder if they're things that you have not tried in some time. Anyway, that's the idea. Just talking about not whiskies that are ignored. Whiskies that are ignored, we ignore for a reason. And we talk about that in the series called The Ignored, right? These are things that are on the shelf, core range whiskies that for some reason it's easy for us to walk past them. Tonight, what I'm talking about is things that are genuine. It's almost like they're in the background and they've got their hand up saying, hey, we're great. We're still great. Remember you used to rave about us? Remember you used to love us? But for some reason, we've moved on, or we've just with so many other kind of new and exciting and more sexier releases, we've kind of decided that our brain, our shelf, our wallets can only accommodate so much. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a wee bit of a revisit to some brands that we'll recognise from the past. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to remind you all that tomorrow night is English Whiskey Awards. The EWAs are on tomorrow night from 9 o'clock UK time. If you're joining live, there is a link pinned in the live chat. Hopefully I'm mindful enough to leave a link in the description below before I go off tonight. I'm away early in the morning. I'm catching an early flight over to the Limburg Whisky Festival tomorrow. But I hope that those of you that can, that you've got some time on a Friday night, that you can hop over to the Jeff Whiskey channel from 9 p.m. tomorrow on the link that's pinned in there. But just search Jeff Whiskey on YouTube, JEFF, or search for English Whiskey Awards 2026, and that'll take you along there. There's a live stream going out where all the winners for 2026 will be announced, and there's extra categories this year as well. I hope it goes really, really well. I wish Jeff and Vin and everyone that's involved this year the very, very best. I hope it goes well. There's a hell of a lot of work goes into that. And make no mistake, these things are not subsidized. These things are funded by the community. They're funded by Jeff and Vin themselves. I think all the man hours are between Jeff and Vin, mostly on Jeff's shoulders, I suspect. And believe me, I know more than most just how much effort and work goes into those things. Maybe I'll see you. Maybe I'll be able to drop in quickly. But before we get involved in all of that good stuff, I'm going to do what we always do, and I'm going to jump into the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. Welcome everyone, and cheers. Let's scroll back a wee bit, and I'm going to be looking for the orange. So if you type Aquavite or at Aquavite in the live chat on YouTube, if you're watching Facebook, thank you. But the chat I'm interacting with is the chat on YouTube. I should be able to pick up anytime you type Aquavite. It highlights orange for me. Gerben is here. Good to see you. Good evening, Barflies and Aquavite. Just a short stay because I will be travelling to Limburg tomorrow. Well, I don't get to have a short stay, Gerben, but I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow at Limburg, buddy. Hopefully, I can keep things a little bit neater tonight in order to at least get a few hours sleep before I head out to Limburg. Magdalena D is saying, good evening all. Peathead, good to see you, Frank. Good evening, Aquavite Roy. Magdalena. I wonder who that is. I think that might be the first time I've welcomed you in the vPub and the lounge. It's nice to have you here. I hope you're well. Gary Field is saying, hope you're well, Roy. Got my flights and hotel booked for Glasgow already. So that's in November, Glasgow Whisky Festival. People are already looking 6, 7, 8 months in advance and looking forward to November this year. I can't wait as well. Justin Wan is saying, good evening, Roy and Barflies. I'm not going anywhere and staying until the quiz tonight. You're an absolute hero. Just to remind everyone, Justin's out in Hong Kong, so he's several hours ahead of us. But he likes to burn the midnight oil and stay till the quiz at the end. Nice to have you, buddy. I hope you're well. Andrew Dorr is here. You're doing around Barflies. Hope you're all well. We are well, Andrew. I hope you are too, buddy. And it's nice to welcome you. Paul Gids is saying evening all. As I've only been on my journey for 16 months or so, there are no forgotten drams amongst the far too numerous bottles I own. I know, Paul, but the thing is that if we've forgotten about it and you're kind of leaning on the community a little bit or recommendations that you hear on vPubs and at various places, if we've collectively forgotten about these bottles, they might not pop up on your radar either. And I think it's a wee bit of a shame to not give you that option, because these were things that were, I believe, 2 or 3 of the bottles I'm about to share with you are fairly critical on our journeys. Bob Sanders saying, good evening, Aquavite and all. Nice to catch the vPub live tonight and interested to see your list of forgotten distilleries versus what I might have on the shelf. Good to have you, Bob. It's always a pleasure to welcome you in, buddy. And thanks for trying to follow along. Arnie Tiger is here. Good to see you, Arnie. I can never be off-putting to listen to you. Thank you, Arnie. You can come back again, buddy. Keep the compliments coming. It's wonderful to welcome you in whenever you're here, buddy. Barman de Apartamento. I'm pretty sure that's Raphael. Good to see you, big guy, saying good evening, Roy. Raphael is tuning in from Brazil. Malt Metal Mick, that's a new name. I think it's a new name. Evening, Roy. Cheers for getting back to me on the app a few hours ago. Okay. Watching your videos and lives recently has upped my love for whiskey even more. Aberlour 14 for me tonight. Cheers. Did we have a wee interaction tonight? Was that on this Aquavite Guardian Circle app? So I did speak to a Michael. That could be you. It's nice to welcome you in the chat. I'm glad I was able to catch you and welcome you here as well, buddy. Ian Williamson is saying good evening, Roy, and all the barflies. Looking forward to hanging out for a bit tonight. Probably won't make it to the quiz thanks to early starts. Well, you've got no excuse, Ian, because I've got a very early start tomorrow, flying over to Limburg, and I don't think I'm going to get much time this weekend to rest. Derek McGrainer, good to see you, buddy. He's also going to be in Limburg. I hope you're going to be there, Derek. Good evening, folks. Good evening, Gaffer. Nice to have you, Derek. Pete Ed, who will also be at Limburg, saying, evening, Barman, forgotten. Don't forget Limburg, please. Watkins is here. That's Chuck, isn't it? That must be Chuck. Good to see you. Greetings and salutations, Aquavite and the Barflies. Good to see you, Chuck. And PT Drummer Craig, good evening, Aquavite and all. PT Drummer Craig, have I welcomed you before? If I haven't, and this is the first time, welcome. It's nice to have you. Danny Hebbington is here. Danny, how are you keeping, my friend? Evening, Mr. Duff, trying out the Smogan for the first time tonight. Well procured again, good sir. I think that shapeshifter of a really, really deep, dense, concentrated whiskey is going to charm you to a ridiculous level. I confess to having I've switched. I've gone for a more calibrated dram since, but I'll confess to having a wee treat of it. As I was setting up, I can't stay away from it. I absolutely adore this stuff. It's pretty unique whiskey, Danny. I'm glad, and I hope you are enjoying it. Overland Drams, that's Chuck again. I think there's 2 Chucks in tonight, Overland Drams. And Watkins, or he switched accounts. Looking forward to the EWIS. I hope you're joining in tomorrow to support there, Chuck. Fantastic, buddy. Some drams coming in, and I need to make sure I can catch these, but Alistair Gray celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 74 months. Have a great Limburg weekend, Barflies. So Alistair Gray signed up to be a Barfly member through YouTube. €1.99, €1.99, £1.99, whatever it may be. And what that does, it's not the same as the support through the Guardians or Patreon. This is to keep the content absolutely ad-free. I don't split any ad revenue with YouTube. I don't need to worry or suffer ads before or after Aquavite content, and neither do you. And in return, you also get access to the channel-themed, whiskey-themed emoji and the wee Barfly loyalty badges too. Alistair, thank you for your support, buddy, and it's nice to have you. MJ Rodden, good to see MJ saying evening, Roy and fellow Barflies. Glad I can join you live for this topic. My forgotten is a Tobermory 12. That would be a peach, actually. That's a cracking example of exactly what I'm talking about, MJ. When was the last time we spoke and celebrated, you know, the unpeated side of Tobermory, that 12-year-old, 46.3%, always fully natural. And he goes on to say it's always overshadowed by its smoky brother. I agree with you. I really do. Great call. Ryan Sutherland, good to see you, buddy. Good evening, Roy. Hello, Barflies. How are things with you, Ryan, up at 8 doors? Bowman 1999 is saying good evening, whiskey folk. Hope you all have something great in your glass. Nice to see you, Bowman. And Hellswoods bought me a dram. Evening, Ryan. Andy passed his bus driver test yesterday. So blooming proud of him. Well, let's raise a wee glass for future... It makes me almost, would that be West Coast Motors? Is it down the peninsula? Makes me almost want to book a wee bus ticket just in the off chance that Andy's our driver. Congratulations to him, Helen. I hope he's watching. I hope he's hanging out with us tonight. He's maybe not back from work yet. But to Andy, all the very best. Well done, fella. Pedro Menezes is also in Brazil. He's saying, evening, Barflies and Aquavite. Always great to spend some time with you. Always wonderful to welcome you here, Pedro. And Ben Demon Hunter in Canada saying, Slanjuvaroy. Fantastic. Good to have you. Indian Pete has bought me a dram. Indian Pete Head. But there's no comment or anything. And just an opportunity then for me and then Petehead to raise a wee dram and say, thank you very much. Thank you for your generous dram. Cheers, buddy. And Superstar from down under, from First Fill Whiskey in New Zealand. Morning, mate. For the Come to Dramfest 2027 New Zealand Fund. Keep bullying us. The more bullying, Phil, the better the chance we have of it happening. I can imagine it'd be quite an expensive project, but it's something I'd love to do, buddy. In the meantime, it's cracking to welcome you here. I hope you're doing well. I want to just say thanks very much to Phil for involving me in that pronunciation collaboration. It's brought, as collaboration should do, I suppose, it's brought some new eyes to this channel. So if you've found this channel coming from First Fill Whiskey, thank you very much for coming along. And a huge thanks to Phil as well for the opportunity. Loved doing the video, and Phil made such a fantastic job of it. Well, mate, Mick is saying, yes, mate. I just jumped. The Michael you spoke to earlier was myself. Cheers. Fantastic, Michael. It's good to start to get to know you. Lee J saying, evening. Oh, Maniac Day. A Maniac Day, so going to watch on replay. Stay safe. Our pal Lee J down south. Excuse me, is clearly a wee bit tired. Lee J, get some rest, buddy, and pick it up soon, won't you? Jeff Whiskey saying, cheers for the kind words with the EWIS Aquavitae on topic, as I have forgotten how much work awards are. Yeah. I should have reminded you, but it is a lot of work. Listen, we'll let you get on with it, and I wish you the very, very, very best for tomorrow, Jeff. I hope it goes well. We met in Leith, Aquavitae. I'm a regular vPub guest. Fantastic, Magdalena. I will rack my brain to remember the moment. And can you imagine? Leith was just an absolute blur. I will remember your face. I absolutely will. And given a bit of time, I'll probably remember who you are too. Black Venice saying, I've also got a smoker in the glass. I think there may be a problem with the cork on my bottle because it seems to be evaporating quite fast. Yeah, there's either a problem with the cork or there's a hole in the bottom, I suspect. The same is happening with me, buddy. It's nice to have you in here. Molasses Mike saying, cheers, Roy, sipping a Brackla Isle of Barley. Not forgotten so much as buried. That's what I mean. Sometimes we forget things just because they get shuffled around and they're hidden in the back or something like that. That can happen too, Mike. I'm glad you've dug it out and I hope you're enjoying it. Sharmila Susan saying, evening all, just cracked up my Aberargie. Such an easy sipper. Good for you, Sharmila. I suspect that'll be another one that disappears quite quickly. Alistair McPhail's here. Greetings and good wishes, everyone in Aquavitae. Just popping in for a quick one. Wonderful to have you, big guy, and I hope you're looking after yourself and keeping well. Always nice to welcome you, Alistair. And Jeffrey Bangers is saying, what's happening, Roy and Barflies? I'm just popping in to say hi. Feels a while since I caught you alive. Cheers all. Jeffrey, you'd never need to worry about never not attending. Your bar stool will be ready for you, waiting whenever you can make it. And there's my big pal from Canada from years ago. It's Daniel. Whiskey Throttle is in saying hello from Canada. Daniel, it's always nice to welcome you, buddy. How you keeping? Are you well? Master Chief's Sea Chest, that's Mark. He's saying Deanston 12 in the glass. Well, I've also got a 12-year-old in the glass. No, I'm telling fibs. This is a 10-year-old in the glass, actually, Mark. Sorry, apologies. But it's a perfect wee dram to get us going. Because if I talk about brands that we forget, it doesn't mean we've forgotten them because we're past them. We've had our time with them and we've moved on. And even although that we might subconsciously or consciously consider that that's the case, all it takes is for us to have a dram of it at some point in the future, either knowing what it is or somebody pouring it for us blind, for us to instantly reconnect with it and realize, oh my goodness, this is good. I'd forgotten how good this was. So it can be a challenge for all of us to keep up to date. It can be a challenge for all of us to remember all the good drams that we've had in the past and to remember that some of them, even the majority sometimes, are still available today. They're still available to us. And just because we've moved on to the next independently bottled rabbit hole, or we've moved on to the new distilleries out there, or exciting new releases, and all of these types of things, it can mean that it's tough for us to find the time, the brain space, the bandwidth to even be reminded about these whiskies. So it's nice as a community when we work together and we rediscover it. I've made a deliberate attempt to rediscover this first one that's in the glass. About 2 weeks ago, I reached for this on the shelf and I poured it, and I was just like, this is so good. We've got to talk about this again. Why are we not talking about this whiskey? Why are we not always talking about this whiskey? It's still round about the £42 mark. Sometimes it's on offer. Sometimes you're paying closer to 50, but it's still at a very tidy price point, fully natural. It says so on the label. And it was just over 5 years ago, maybe 6 years now, that I did what was going to be a series before I quickly decided not to go ahead with the series. And I've been apologising for it ever since, called Hero Whiskies. So you all know the whiskey that I'm talking about. When was the last time that you sat down and enjoyed a glass of Glen Cadam's 10-year-old? When was the last time you tried anything from Glen Cadam, from the core range? I know they do lots of crazy finishes, and they do some non-age statement stuff, and they do some special releases, but the core range, the anchor points of the 10, the 15, these are just they're actually very rare whiskies. Why do I say they're rare? Well, the Glen Cadam 10, there's going to be a mix of refill and first fill bourbon in the 10-year-old. Maybe could be majority first fill, I'm not very sure, but this is a very, very beautiful example of a Highland ex-bourbon style. And the 15-year-old is even more ethereal, even lighter, even more subtle, despite the extra 5 years of maturation, in my opinion. Both 46% ABV, fully natural, and it says on the label, unchill filtered. No added colouring, right in the front of the label, very confidently written there. So I was so charmed by the detail, complexity, vibrance, a delicious, easygoing sweetness of this whiskey, the fruit that it packs, the malt that it packs, the creaminess, the kind of almost sandpaper prickle on the palate, kind of just slightly sharper than velvet type texture. I don't know what it is. It's difficult. It's like lots of wee top notes, kind of prickle type thing. It's just a beautiful, beautiful whiskey. Well, we have forgotten about it, but I think sometimes there's ways to force us to remember it. And recently, this has been rebranded, completely rebranded. It no longer looks like this for new releases. So I think what we've got here is an opportunity to have an almost forced reminder. I have always spoken fondly of this bottling and the aesthetics of it, because I like the fact that it is a custom bottle. It's not a tall round, but it's very similar to a tall round. It's a very, very typical Scotch whiskey silhouette here. And I thought the branding, the label is always much nicer when it's in the hand, the kind of cream paper, the metallic highlights, some gloss involved as well. And I also really, really liked that Glen Cadam typeface. I loved that font. But if you look at this and you imagine it on a whiskey shelf, we have to be honest, it does look a wee bit twee. It is kind of stuck in the 1990s a little bit. So they have gone for a rebrand. Now, I'm asking here, do rebrands work? We, as fickle whiskey enthusiasts, often have a huge opinion when a rebrand happens. I think it's true in life in general. You know, a car gets facelifted. You see rebranding out there in the corporate world, or you see it in retail, or it doesn't matter where. When there is change, we have an opinion. We have an immediate emotional reaction to it, and we want to share an opinion. And just by the mere fact that it's change can make it challenging for us. And it can be difficult for us sometimes to have a positive reaction to things. And often we need time to sit with that change in order to process it, let it percolate, and see how we grow to like it over time. But in whiskey, there can be added complications because we will convince ourselves that the whiskey has changed, the liquid has changed. Since the rebrand, it's never been the same. And that there is truth in that. Old Pulteney definitely changed through its rebrand. Balblair definitely changed through its rebrand. But that wasn't a case of just rebranding. That was a case of rebranding and reformulating and reprofiling the entire core range in both counts. Benromach did the same, but for the most part, Benromach kept the core range intact. So there wasn't a lot of, while there were pushback on Benromach's aesthetics, there wasn't a lot of pushback on the rebranding of Benromach in terms of changed whiskey profiles. People were still quite happy with it. I would be excited if it was the same for this. Now, do you have an emotional reaction as I hold this bottle up to you? This is the new Glen Cadam. This is the completely new rebrand. There's the water wheel on the front label. Everything else in terms of description is the same. And you can see unchill filtered and natural color. If anything, it's even more bold than it used to be on the previous labeling. Still 46% ABV, still the same cask profile. I'm going to suggest to you it's still the same color of liquid inside the bottle. There's a nice wee Easter egg as well. I'm going to give this a wee polish and show you the base of this bottle. As I was looking around it, look what they've done to the base here. The base is a water wheel. Can you see that? It's got squared edges all the way around. I don't know how many sides this has. It's probably got about 16 sides or so. I don't know, maybe more. But you can see the base of the bottle is actually the water wheel that Glen Cadam has reinstalled and reinstated at the distillery. So we're going to uncork this. We're going to get it in a glass. I've been sipping the Glen Cadam 10 tonight. And I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I wonder how much I would have to scroll up. My goodness, Jimmy Legacy and I, of course, had one just last Thursday, as you will remember. Yeah, of course I remember, Jimmy. I remember that. That Glen Cadam beat the pants off that Ardna. Well, that's interesting in itself. I may not always agree with you, James, but I will always fight for our ability to disagree and remain friends. Oh, that's a nice, confident cork pop. Let's see how it sounds as it goes in the glass. Full satisfaction, wouldn't you agree? George P is saying last week Glen Cadam 10 is an easy perma-shelf bottle for me. So there we go. George also had some last week as well. Not all of you are forgetting this. I struggled with your name last week as well. Remco de Vries, drinking Glen Cadam 10 whilst typing this. Incredible. Tim Pills. I agree. I think they get a lot of love from the whiskey community, particularly the 10 and the 15. Glen Cadam is always close. Aquaviti, says Pedro, but the new branding is kind of odd. Keith McKenzie is saying Glen Cadam always on my radar, especially with a bit of cheese following Ian's vPub appearance. That's going back quite a while now, when Ian Forteeth was last on the vPub. I miss the big guy. We need to see what he's doing these days and see if he's willing to come back again. I am obviously talking about me then. This has slipped off my personal radar, and it was only reaching for it in the last couple of weeks that made me realise how I'd forgotten how wonderful it was. Duder Court is here. That's Mike. Is saying, not a bad vPub to catch, looking to bolster my whiskey collection with some more reasonably priced options to explore. Well, I think everything tonight, without exception, is reasonably priced, Mike. So we're in a good shape for you. Danny Hebington is saying, I still drink it regularly in a distillery. It's a 5-minute walk from the house. I feel a bit of a connection to the place too. Absolutely terrific. Danny. Herman is saying, that really reminds me of a Glen Cadam 18 that's forgotten. Poured me a glass. The 18 is a bit pricey. I don't think the 18's had its rebrand yet, so the 18 hasn't been bottled in some time, I think. Jimmy Legacy and Balblair is an excellent example. of a whiskey rebranding and then completely disappearing from my radar. I think that's true for a lot of us. Daniel Whiskey Throttle is saying, I think they're done to get the new market share. Maybe the question we can ask ourselves is, does it change the contents of the bottle? And if so, how? Our personal bias, etc. That's exactly my point, Daniel. It's what I'm talking about tonight. I believe Benromach did not change with over the years. In fact, arguably, Benromach got better. But Balblair, we lost something there. We lost a bit for a while with Old Pulteney. You know, the 17-year-old and 21-year-old Old Pulteneys became legends, right? Chalpin, good to see the old style was a wee bit twee, but I liked it better than the rebrand. Not that the new branding is bad, but just that it's meh. It looks like a generic brand label without any character. A lot of people are suggesting that this is a type of rebranding you might get if you asked AI to do it. The first thing I would say, it's very fashionable today to force clarity and legibility, and any kind of if you're in a kind of contemporary doctrine, they're going to continually go on. It's going to be about accessibility, ease of use for web pages and all of that type of thing as well. And that's spilled over to branding in general, and it makes a lot of sense, but it's not always the thing that you need to lead with. Some of the nicest, prettiest branding that exists in Scotch whisky and outside of Scotch whisky isn't really that legible, but it's just quite nice. And it's kind of nice when it kind of transcends fashion. What's happened here at Glen Cadam is that they've decided to finally just kind of succumb to a brand refresh here. And they have gone a little bit generic. It does look quite safe. They've gone for clarity here. They've gone for larger fonts. By the way, I'm all for larger fonts. I'm in my 50s now, right? And they've just gone a wee bit kind of... I can understand why people say meh. I have to say it's nicer, as these things tend to be when it's in the hand. There's a bit of kind of metallic sheen. The paper is fairly simple and straightforward. And I would say that depending on the colour of this background, you might struggle to make out that water wheel there. It's a more sturdy, slightly fatter bottle, slightly more heft to it, I would say. So I'm missing the elegance of the old one maybe, but it's not got so fat that you can't fit them easily on any kind of reasonably proportioned shelf. Mick is saying, can you hold them both up side by side, please? I can do my best for you, Mick. Here you go. You can see that the new one's quite a bit shorter. That's them side by side. Let's try to focus on my face. They really look like quite different whiskies when you do that, right? They look, but we are assured that this is the same. So let's get it. Let's get our nose in it. Overland is saying, looks good to me. Says Chuck. Outside of whiskey, is that a new name? Or is that just a different handle? Outside of whiskey, nice to have you. New Glen Cadam looks like it could be a rebrand of the rebranded Deanston. Water wheel logos, similar typeface, placement of colour. It's all looking the same. I get what you're saying as well. Especially that kind of that Highlander vibe as well, and the ex-bourbon. I'm jumping up and down all over the place and missing some of the comments just because of the chat seems to be moving quite fast tonight. Over 300 of you in. It's probably why. I'll do my best to keep up. Sean Cosner is saying, I don't think Anock's change and slight rebrand is working. Already seeing the new 43 16-year-old near half price. A real shame. Knockdo is, that's not forgotten. That's something that we are choosing to disconnect with, because that's they've gone in a direction where they're following a price point market, Speyburn and Knockdo, and that's heartbreaking for us. Heartbreaking. Greg's Whiskey Guide, good to see you, Greg. Greg in Paris is saying, if I can consolate the Scotch loving crowd here. No, oh, it means, okay, to console the Scotch loving crowd here, note that in France we also had some debate as well, rebrandings. Armoric, Edu, Domaine de Haute Glace. We had one of those in the vPub rights. Domaine de Haute Glace. I think it's glass. To name a few, but the jury is still out. Takes us a while to adapt as well as people. We don't like change. Whiskey Malt Content is saying Speyburn. There's another distillery disappeared after rebranding and ABV dropping. Again, even worse than Knockdo. It's not gone down to 43 on that one, has it? It's Vlad, is it? Vlad Whiskey Malt Content. It's gone down to 40% on the Speyburn releases. Even more heartbreaking. Black Venice saying big letters at the top of the label and coloured bottom section reminds me of Mossburn independent bottles. It is a wee bit like that. Still better than the Glen Mory, though, says Halpins, talking about the rebrand there. This weekend dram pops out. Oh, the chat disappears. Pops out a bit more on the shelf, says Harrow. Absolutely. And Gary feels the same for me. It's about the liquid in the bottle rather than the label. I know, but you'd be amazed how emotive and how we are led by branding. Justin is saying, I wish they'd have kept the colour coding with a rebrand. There is an argument for that, Justin. There's no real reason to change that. And Daniel is saying, does the rebrand come with the hiring of a new marketing company? Were the changes to the distillery itself, like the new GM, owners, etc.? Great comment about AI graphics. I would say that it comes 200th anniversary of Glen Cadam, a whole new visitor centre opening, the reinstatement of the water wheel, huge investment happening in that distillery. It's just a big kind of momentum behind the brand right now, just at the time where I felt like I had let things drop off my own personal radar. Christoph Meyer. Excuse me, Christoph, if I pronounced your name wrong there. Christoph Meyer, it looks like. Pop in again after some time. We'll catch the replay as always. All the best to you all. Thank you so much just to pop in and send over a nice wee dram. Christopher, thank you so much. It's finally done celebrate. It's been a member for 28 months. Thank you. Good evening, Roy. Sipping a Deanston 18 tonight. Fantastic. Maybe arguably something else that for some of us is forgotten. Okay, let's get our nose into this new, freshly uncorked Glen Cadam 10. Immediately bright, fresh, easy, comfortable, familiar fruit. At first blush, it's orchard, it's clean, crisp, sweet apples, pears. If there's citrus, it's on the lighter side and it's a wee bit of kind of lemon spritz. But there's a sweeter fruit in here as well, maybe like unripe pineapple. A little bit of a kind of, there's always a prickle. There's always, and I don't mean an alcohol prickle, I don't mean a heat prickle, it's like a detailed thing. It's almost like a floral spritz type thing with Glen Cadam, almost like an effervescence to it. And that's here, almost like a glucose tablet or something. And a backbone of a nice, creamy, soft malt. It's just so friendly and charming. This is nosing exactly as you would expect Glen Cadam 10 to nose. Exactly. Cheers, everyone. Welcome. Ha. Ha. There is a difference. There is a difference. Let me go back to my old one, but it's not the difference you expect. I mean, it's still lovely. Absolutely lovely. It's a little kind of really quite sweet white grape note in that one there. But this is brighter, much more vibrant, fresher, much more, the best word I can use is vibrant, much more alive. This has been down at a low level on the shelf for a long time. And I suspect that it's up to you. It's a completely subjective thing, whether you think that the change in the bottle is suffering a little bit, where this is softened, I think. This is tasting a lot more of what my memory of Glen Cadam 10 is. So I think what we've got here is a scenario where I've allowed this 10-year-old to maybe go a little bit quiet and flat and round out a little bit on the shelf, because this one is just so much more fresh. You know, in isolation, you could be served this and you might go with something like, you might suggest it's a Deanston 12. You might be drawn in some other direction, but you're not going to get you're not going to make a mistake on the cask of this. This is pure bourbon matured Scotch whisky. Delicate, friendly, easy, approachable, fresh, bright, vibrant, clean, sweet, ripe even. Floral. I think it's coming with a tube. It's got a quite kind of old-fashioned, heavy, metal-topped, difficult to recycle tube. You have to tear this thing apart to try and recycle it. I don't know if it's needed. I know that the old one came with a tube. It's maybe expected. Maybe their market demands that they want it. For me, I don't need the tube. I've literally, this has arrived in the house. The tube is now empty. The bottle will never go back in this again. This will go in one recycling bin, and I'll stamp on it outside till I get the bottom off it, and it'll go in the recycling. If there's any writing, or it's got some tasting notes on it, it's got some blurb. This has been matured for a minimum of 10 years in the finest ex-bourbon American oak barrels. The whiskey is bottled in natural colour without chill filtration. So it says that on the front, it says it on the back, it says it on the back of the bottle and the front of the bottle as well. So we've been reassured in one purchase that this is fully natural 4 different times. Well done, Glen Cadam. To preserve the whiskey's rich flavour, complex aroma and subtlety of taste. I have to say, for a 10-year-old whiskey, it's remarkable that you can get complexity like this. It's an absolute charmer. This has lost nothing. So you may be a wee bit reluctant. You may decide that you prefer the old branding or something like that. But for me, it's wonderfully reassuring that it's one of those rebrandings that's gone through and it's the exact same liquid in different clothes, which means that we still have it. The other rebrandings that have happened in the past probably are Old Pulteney, Speyburn, Knockdhu, Annock. Those rebrandings were sledgehammer exercises that lost a lot of the magic that we fell in love with. I've yet to try the 15. I've yet to try some of the other releases. They've just brought out a sherry cask. They've got a Calvados cask to celebrate 200 years as well and to celebrate the relaunch of the rebrand. I've not tried any of those yet. This is my first foray into it, but I'm already reassured. Fantastic stuff. I am very, very happy that I may have forgotten Glen Cadam, and for that I apologise. But the fact that it's there, it's kind of like going back to an old friend who's just reinvented himself with a glow up, a new wardrobe or something like that. I wish the rebrands would drop the packaging. Who was that? I'm really sorry. So I'm scrolling. He scrolls down, and I scroll back up to try and catch some of the comments I've missed. I touch it with a mouse and it disappears. I think it was Gary Field, might have been, I'm not sure. Whiskey Weekend Drama is saying, now I'm happy the tubes are saved for the moving. How's the move going? Fairnight Walker is saying, when you say more vibrant and fresh, you mean younger? Sounds like they changed the recipe. Fairnight Walker, absolutely not. Vibrant and fresh to me is get very little to do with age. You know, the negative side of a young whiskey is when it's quite jaggy, when it's quite shouty still, there's rough edges. It's very, very kind of, the flavors can be very spirit driven, new make driven, that type of thing, where the cask hasn't really had much time to have much of an effect. So you've got lots of sweetness and creaminess and things, lots of kind of malty flavors and things from the spirit, the new make spirit. That's not what's happening here. If you've enjoyed Glen Cadam in the past, Glen Cadam 10 specifically, you're going to enjoy this one too. Gary Field is saying, I wish the rebrands would drop the package and it was you. That's great news, says Pedro. And Keith McKenzie is saying, recycle the tube by putting spaghetti or linguine in for storage. Do you know how much pasta I would have in my work surface if I used all my tubes? But fair play to you, Keith, because you're absolutely right. Duther Court is saying, do you think that Glen Cadam saw the reaction to other rebrands and knew not to mess people around with too much change? Yeah, I don't even think it would have occurred to them I don't think they want to mess with things when they know that they're doing it quite well. I don't even think that would have been a discussion. George P is saying, don't mention Speyburn, I'm still grieving. We all are, George. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And Donna Pass Whiskey, good to see Tim. Maybe it's because I'm old, but all these rebrandings look cheap and the older brandings looks much better. Glengoyne, Glenmorangie, and this one. Well, we're going to get to talk about some more of this as we go on, Tim. Nice to have you in, buddy. Nice to have you. I am quite charmed by that. I'm happy to have a fresh, vibrant bottle of Glen Cadam 10 back on the shelf again. Since we're talking about rebrands, there are some things that happen. It's almost like they are making it easy for us to forget them. It's either through clumsy handling of the product, as we've discussed ad nauseum tonight with talking about Anoch, Speyburn, Old Pulteney, Balblair. There are more out there, by the way. But also when they don't really put much effort in at all. Or it's like you're saying, come on, one day you're going to work this out. One day you're going to get this. One day you're going to do this. And we're going to love it and we're going to come running to your side. There's a whiskey that all through my whiskey journey, and it took me a while to realize it, that I've really quite enjoyed. I've loved. And I think that despite that, they are doing their best to try and straddle this line between price point whiskey and premium whiskey, like so many brands try to do. Some of them do it very, very well. That they've just always missed this kind of bullseye. And you guys have already mentioned it tonight. So I'm talking about when brands make it easy to forget them. They're just because of a lack of application, a lack of conviction, or maybe a fear of upsetting things, they just never go ahead. I have maybe 4 or 5 different examples of branding of this bottle on the shelf. This is Glenmorangie's 10-year-old. I could nip up there and I could grab 1 or 2, and maybe there's 1 or 2 over my shoulder here in the old bottles collection selection. There will be a couple in there as well. Older branding of the same, because this has been a ubiquitous whiskey. This has been everywhere for a long time. And I have to say, I've always been charmed by it in the sense that I think it's probably one of the best 40% whiskies that exists, maybe 43% where you are, if you're lucky and get it at an export strength. Some producers do that. I'm not sure if that's the case with Glenmorangie. Peter Lee is saying, Glen Cadam tour was fantastic for Denise and I can truly recommend to every barfly with a great cafe and shop. Thanks to all who supported the tasting. They've just, obviously, Peter, Denise, Andy and Helen, along with Paul Main from Ardnahoe, held a charity tasting in Paisley last week, and I heard it went very, very well, and they're knocking on for, I think they're several £100. They may have even got close to or breached £1,000. Well done to you guys. Well done. I've not managed to get up to the Highlands to see the new visitor centre yet. I hope it's something I can do this year. So Glenmorangie have gone for a rebrand, and this is an objective improvement. There's no difference to the aesthetic here at all. Look at it. It's the exact same bottle, right? This has appeared on the vPub before. You can see it. But you can clearly see that there's a 2-year age statement bump here. Now, they've not done it to give us a more mature whiskey. This is, I suspect, in response to market demand, where a 10-year-old is no longer seen as the entry level. It's 10-year-old is seen as kind of sub-entry. An entry-level age statement for a single malt on a supermarket shelf for the kind of, I suppose, the casual whiskey buyer, the people who maybe don't really care to what shelf filtration is as their colour added. They just doesn't cross their mind. They just love the flavour or whatever, and they're looking for a 12-year-old. I think that that's got something to do with it, and the fact that they've got the stock to be able to do it. And what a missed opportunity that is, because, as you know, I've been waiting years for a Glenmorangie to come out at scale at a reasonable price that's fully natural and all from ex-bourbon. That's from ex-bourbon, that Glenmorangie, like the Glen Cadam, like the Instant 12, like a few other whiskies out there, is one of these rare beasts that is fully from ex-bourbon casks, and it's delicious for it. I would love, 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 love Glenmorangie to bring me that, and I don't care if it's a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old, but I would love them to bring me that bottling fully natural. Because if they put it out at 46% ABV, they could calm down on the filtration. No chill filtration. I think it's natural colour already. I don't believe that Glenmorangie is coloured. They may reserve the right to colour it. I don't really know. But to have a fully natural Glenmorangie 10 or 12, I think that would be a treat. And why don't we have it? Is it entitlement? I just feel like there are so many special releases from Glenmorangie. So many additional examples in the core range. We've got the Quinta Ruban with the port finishing. We've got La Santa Sherry Cask. We've got Nectar d'Or, which is, I'm second guessing myself now, Sauterne. Is it Sauterne? And that's just in the core range. And then every year we've got 2 or 3 or more special releases as well. Well, where's the special release that's going to be just fortified core range? Where is it? Why can we not taste it? Do we have to go to an independent to taste it? And if we go to an independent to taste it, I guarantee you it's going to be called Westport, right? We're not going to be able to call it, you're not going to let us call it Glenmorangie. I went looking. I went searching, because I don't want an independent bottling. I want something that you could potentially pick up too. I want something that's at reasonable scale. And the closest I could find that had interest still for me was a 12-year-old. It is at 46% ABV. It is an official Glenmorangie bottling, and it's bright green. I don't know if you know anything about this bright green label, but this is from bourbon casks, but then it's finished in Palo Cortado. Palo Cortado, I've always had a wee bit of a fetish for Palo Cortado casks. They don't always work out brilliantly. I have had 1 or 2 that's a bit kind of like, yeah. But for me, I've had a lot of really, really positive experiences with Scotch whiskey that's matured in or finished in Palo Cortado casks. Palo Cortado is a strange thing that happens in sherry maturation when the floor breaks down completely by accident. It's marked with a stick. Every cask that's fine is marked with a chalk mark they call a stick. It's a palo in Spanish. And they mark it with a chalk mark. If the floor breaks down, it becomes a different sherry altogether. And they don't design it. They just know that it's happened. So they have to mark it, and they put a cross through the stick, cut stick, hence the name Palo Cortado. Stick cut, Palo Cortado, short stick. The Palo Cortado is a rarer sherry, but there does seem to be in Scotch whisky landscape a lot of Palo Cortado maturation and finishing going on, and they don't mix it up with all the other sherry and just call it sherry cask. They seem to be very specifically picking out the fact that it's Palo Cortado, and I think for me it brings a really kind of dry, spiced, almost umami, savory nuttiness, almost like salt and muesli or something like that, or spice and salt and muesli. It's the best way I can describe it. For me, it's always been really compelling, and I've always enjoyed it. So when Glenmorangie are making it easy for us to forget them, maybe the occasional special release like this was a wee bit expensive. This was £65. So for a 12-year-old, you know, I've kind of paid over the odds. But yes, I'm excited by Palo Cortado, and maybe it can get me a wee bit closer to something that's a bit more natural from Glenmorangie. Do we have a white cork on this? Wow. Green and white. Does look white. Anyway, here we go. Now, I suspect this is the type of whiskey that may want a wee bit of time in the glass, but we don't have time. It's first impressions, usual caveats apply. We always reserve the right to change our judgment on a whiskey after we've had a dram or two out of it, but it's good for first impressions and sharing it with you guys, right? Rounded shoulders, so there's no glug at all out the bottle. Into a fresh glass. See how we got on with this. Let's leave it for a wee second so we can see what you're saying. A dram has come in from Roy Overmere. He's saying, enjoy your Limburg trip, Roy. That means that you're not coming this year, Roy. So we're literally going to spend the weekend saying, where's Roy? It's a shame that we're not going to get you this time, big guy. We're not going to get to hang out. But I'll hold up this wee Glen Cadam 10 and say, cheers to you, buddy. Thanks for the dram, and we'll miss you. Cheers, fella. Gene Kelly saying, given the scale of production at Glen Mory, I'm guessing the bump from 10 to 12 was a non-event for them. Absolutely. Pretty massive distillery, right, Gene? And I think it's less to do with the scale and much more to do with the stock availability. They just had the ability to do it, so they were able to step up. The 12-year-old hasn't reached every market everywhere yet. And I have to say, there isn't a huge amount of difference between the two. Kruger is saying rebrands are fine if they don't change too much quickly. Small changes are good. Glen Cadam could have modernised their design without changing it completely. So what you're suggesting is that in the case of Glen Cadam, we've got a revolution rather than an evolution there, Kruger. It's nice to welcome you. And I agree with you. It's nice when things can evolve a wee bit gradually and feel a bit more organic, right? Pedro is saying this 12-year-old Palo Cortado is absolutely beautiful aquavite. I drink mine drop by drop. Okay, so that's good. Pedro, I trust you. I trust your palate. I trust your opinions on whiskey. It's nice that you're enjoying this already. Anthony Lambert is saying Glen Mory 10 was the dram that made me turn the corner from drinking for effect to actually enjoying the taste. It's such a critical thing, Anthony, that if I ever write a book, that will be the topic. The Highlander, Connor MacLeod's favourite dram. I love the scene in the film. Gary Field is saying, you've reminded me about my whiskey craft, a Thrusk 17-year-old Palo Cortado, which is now open. I obviously got to try just a dram of that. It was a festival favourite, wasn't it? And it's disappeared now, that 17-year-old Thrusk. I'm jealous of the people that were able to pick it up. Sounds like a cracker. Please buy my friend Frank a decent dram at Limburg. Wish I could be there to do it myself. Jimmy, I'll be sure that Frank is well looked after. By decent dram, I trust that you're putting and is going to be dealer's choice, right? Does it have to be peated for our Frank? Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you very much for the dram, buddy. Cheers. And Justin Wan is saying, just poured myself a Glenturret 12. Is anyone forgetting Glenturret? Glenturret's on the list. It really is on the list. I think the Glenturret, if they were on the topic list for discussion tonight, they've made it easy to forget because of price. They remain a little bit greedy. 9 times out of 10, maybe more, they're a wee bit greedy on price. I understand that they're a premium product, but they've made it difficult to connect with. And Yalpin is saying, regarding colour in Glen Mory, is indeed artificially coloured. The German labels do specify Mitch Farbstoff as required by law. Well, what I would say there is that sometimes those stickers are there as a coverall, a catch-all. I have seen Mitch Farbstoff stickers on bottles that I know to be naturally coloured. That said, you're quite right. Unless they do what Glen Cadam have done and put natural colour or no added colour on the label, we're left to assume that it's the case. Don't offer Peathead Frank a finished whiskey, certainly not finished in sherry or anything grapes, right? Junior Kitty saying, did you ever try that Oban Palo Cortado America only sample I sent you? Oh, Jeff, I don't even recall now. You know I have a problem with samples, right? Don't you? Did I not try that one live on a vPub or a lock-in or something? If you've put your name on it, if you've put Sugar Kitty on the label, when I do get around to trying it, I'll get back to you and let you know. Pete Ed is saying, thanks, I'll see what I can do for me. He doesn't trust me. Justin is saying, I agree with 100%. Glenturret wants to be a premium product. They've got a premium bottle. The whiskey is good, but not premium. I think it is premium, but it's not premium to the level. They are behaving like nothing else can touch them at that price point. And that's not the case. There's far too much choice today. I'm not an Amazon fan, but Glen Mory Palo Cortado is 50 quid. Oh, wow. Okay. I paid more than that, Sandy. I didn't buy it from Amazon. I'm neither an Amazon fan, but no judgment. If people want to pick things up and they're getting a deal on Amazon, go right ahead. Gary Field is saying the Whiskey Craft with Rusk is still available from their website. Oh, maybe I've not missed it. I need the pennies for Limburg, but if it's still there when I get back, you never know. George B is saying, would be interesting to hear your thoughts on why the Glenmoe 12 Palo felt like a stretch at 65 if you're enjoying it. I haven't even tasted it yet, George. But when you can get Glen Mory 10 for £34, Glen Mory 12 for £36, to have it natural, non-chill filtered, natural colour, a wee bit more ABV, and for it to be up at 65 with it just because it's come from, now it's a smaller batch, it's a smaller outturn, the Palo Cortado, it's a special limited release. They're actually calling it their Barrel Select release. It's just one of these special releases. 12 years in bourbon and sherry casks. So what that sounds to me like when they write it like that rather than use the word finish, I think what they've done is they've got Palo Cortado full maturation 12 years, bourbon casks full maturation 12 years, and then they vat them together. But I think I'm assuming that. I think that's probably going to be the case. Anyway, let's have a wee nose. Immediately interesting. So we've got some really nice kind of obvious sherry vibes here, but we know that it's coming out the glass in a slightly different way. So it's almost like we've got those kind of dried fruits, but they're more like kind of light, kind of lighter dried fruits. There's a slightly drier, almost, I don't want to say dusty, but I think you know what I mean. Kind of drier, maybe soft spice note. Maybe dried ginger, or like a sweet ginger. So I always look for a kind of that those kind of muesli themes, and that's kind of what comes out the glass. There's also a nice wee chocolate tone to this, like a melted milk chocolate, or maybe but in the background we've got this dry thing, this light spice, this ginger, this kind of almost verging on dusty. Maybe a wee bit of white pepper and salt. But the base of it, the backbone of it, the foundation is quite sweet. Everything about this is I think the Palo Cortado casks here are dominating. So I'm still not getting close to my experience with what it would be like to have a natural Glen Mory, an official large-scale outturn natural Glen Mory from bourbon casks. The dominant thing here is notes, I think, from the Palo Cortado, which I'm fine with. Soft, light, dried fruits. Dried apricot. I think that's a good call. Dried apricot, that kind of vibe. Anyway, let's have a wee sip. It is very, very inviting. It's mouth-watering even to nose. Wow. I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm just going to take another wee sip, just to double check. There is no sense of a finish here. This is quite integrated. This is well balanced. Lovely poise to this. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I've got a really kind of strong peanut brittle and coconut type thing going on. There's a chocolatiness here. If there's anybody in Scotland, if you've got any idea what a Tunnocks caramel log tastes like, it's a wafer biscuit with caramel and things in it, but on the outside there's desiccated coconut. There's huge vibes of that kind of chocolate thing. There's a syrupiness to it as well, almost like a slightly maple syrup. So it's drawn me towards a kind of nuttier vibe in general. It's drying on the finish. It's already gone. I'm going to have another wee sip, but it's potentially one of the best Glenmorangies I've had recently. That's a beautiful whiskey. There's no fracture there. There's no sense that you've got kind of Glenmorangie with some kind of Palo Cortado blanket around it. This is a completely integrated experience. This is a lovely sip. Lots of poise, lots of drying, development. I thought I got a pepper and salt thing on the nose. That's not apparent on the palate. There's a sweetness there, but it's not sickly sweet, despite me talking about chocolate and things like that. It's just nicely sweetened. It's just, I don't think I poured enough of this in a glass. This is objectively a lovely whiskey. So when we talk about that 10-year-old price point, that 12-year-old price point, and then we go and say, oh, £65, that's quite expensive, especially if you're getting it for 50. I mean, it's a moot point, right? However, what I have to say about this is that if we judge this, forget about the brand, forget about the price point, forget about the age statement. Is this value for money? It's £65. I could have got it cheaper, as it turns out. It's £65. This is cracking value. I don't know where else I could send you today. I know that a Thrusk, 17-year-old Thrusk, was a very, very good price. I think it was, and was it £80 or something like that? Gary, you can maybe let us know how much you paid for it. But this is, and this made it in most markets. I think this good bright green Glenmorangie made it everywhere. I've never done this on the vPub before, but I think I smashed that dram, didn't I? I'm going to pour a wee drop more, because I think it's nice just to be able to kind of go back and see what it's like after it's sat in the glass for a while. It's absolutely delightful. Listen, if you're into funk and you're a peat head and you like extreme flavors and you're always out on the kind of far end of any kind of bandwidth on the flavor map, I think that this might not hold too much interest for you. But you don't, I think there is enough. There's enough richness, there's enough depth, enough flavor. And I think given a bit of time in the glass, sitting here with a water dropper, I know it's at 46%, but even at 46%, you can get a lot out of a glass of whiskey just by dropping a few drops in. I think this is going to start to reveal complexity. This is just an easy sipping charmer. I don't mind if I spend £65 on a whiskey that's going to be poor. because I kind of take I take a hit for the team, right? And I tell all of you guys, this isn't really worth your time. It's a bit bland. It's a bit of a kind of vanity exercise, whatever it is. But objectively, they've put together a delicious whiskey here. This is lovely. It doesn't have the heft of that Deanston 12 Palo Cortado from a few years back, but that was cast strength as well. We have to remember that. That was quite full on and quite an intense Palo Cortado experience. This has got poise and balance and just enough of everything. I think that's the way to describe this. But yeah, I'm sitting here enjoying a Glen Mory, and it's been a while since that's happened. Jesper is here. I wonder what Harrison Ford would make of this one. I can't imagine he's even touched it, Jesper. Andy Helsenstein, even Roy Infield work. With a forgotten dram in hand, Balvenie 21-year-old Slantia. A 21-year-old Balvenie, I think, is a perfect thing to celebrate you getting your license, fella. Congratulations, buddy. I hope it tastes all the sweeter for it. Keith McKenzie saying Glenmo 10 elevated to 12 to allow entry of their triple cask reserve at £25 a bottle. Could be a lot of truth in that, Keith. That makes perfect sense. So if they're going to use a 12-year-old as the kind of premium entry start point, and then on age statement, blue label, £25 a bottle stuff. I haven't even tried it. Gary Field is saying the Whiskey Craft or Thrusk 17 was £100. So my apologies. So we have to remember that it was cast strength, 17 years old, still pretty fair price. You have to say, hats off to Deanston for their orange wine release, 17-year-old orange wine release, £95. It shows that there are a lot of producers out there reading the room. So even for a special limited release like that, Deanston orange wine, they've brought it under the £100 mark. Good stuff. Dan DVDW saying you don't often pour a second dram from the same bottle on the vPub. I can't remember if I've ever done it. I was very much enjoying that. Jimmy Leg is saying, I think you may have smashed a whiskey on the vPub before, Mr. Duff. I'm not sure who you're trying to get. So Dan, you and Jimmy can fight it out amongst yourselves. Pedro saying, it didn't make it to Brazil, Aquavite, but it did make it to Uruguay. Close enough to grab a bottle. Absolutely brilliant. What a superstar you are. Malt Metal Mick is saying, I tried the Glen Mory 14 recently and it's absolutely gorgeous. Which one was that? The 14 would then be, that could be either the La Santa or the Quinta Urbana. Is that a 16 now or something? Nectar d'Or. Doodle Dram Arnie saying, just tuning in after my father-in-law went to bed. He came over to help renovate for a week and he's enjoying the free reign of the whiskey collection. Ardnamurkin, Golden Promise blew him away. Fantastic, Arnie. Good to have you in. I hope the project is coming along well. Well, we're clicking through things, but we're an hour and 13 in, and I am trying to get to a wee early bed tonight because I'm up for an early flight in the morning, as you know. But there is a little bit of fault for me in just forgetting Glen Mory as a brand, so that when they come out with something that's in an interesting cask that I should be drawn to, I should have been like, oh, Glen Mory and a Palo Cortado, I'm interested in that. But this was released in 2022. It's been on the market for almost 4 years, and I'm only just getting around to it now. Just with the sheer variety that there is out there, as I say, some brands make it a little bit easy to forget. But what about when it's our fault? What about when there's a brand that literally says, we'll do everything that you've asked. We'll give you natural whiskey. We'll tell you that it's natural on the label. We'll put natural colour. We'll tell you that it's non-chill filtered. We'll give you an age statement and we'll tell you exactly what type of casks that it's been matured in. We'll make it look as pretty so that you can buy it and enjoy it as a ceremony, or you can buy it and you can gift it. And while we want to make profit and we want to put it out there at a fair price, we're going to try and get the balance right. We're going to try and bring the best product that we can. And we're going to, but at the same time, we're not going to price it to the point that nobody can buy it. Now, what if a producer does that? What if they take something that's been boring or delinquent or not really something to be interested in, but they revamp it, they bring it out, they rebrand it, they bring us exactly what we want, and we celebrate it loudly. and we shout about it from the rooftops and we say, this is a good step in the right direction. This is a great product. And then we just never talk about it again. I bet none of you know the whiskey I'm going to hold up that is a perfect illustration of that exact dynamic. But it is from Dewar's Royal Brackla. This appeared on the vPub. Maybe I'm going back to lockdown, I think. I think it was 2020 or 2021 when this rebrand came out, this 12-year-old in Oloroso casks. It came out with an 18-year-old as well at the same time that was really quite expensive. The 18-year-old was away up at 175 or 190 pounds or something like that. But this Royal Brackla 12-year-old was only 60 pounds. And it remains at 60 pounds today. And in fact, I paid less than that for this bottle. I paid closer to 50 pounds for this. I think the branding of this Royal Brackla is beautiful. I love this branding. It's neither modern or ancient. It's somewhere smack bang in the middle. It's got some bright colour, some kind of metallic highlights and things on there. But the most important thing is here, it says sherry cask, but it tells us that it's a finish, and it tells us that it's an Oloroso finish as well. It also tells us on the back here, now this is pretty small font, and I don't think the camera is going to focus, but you can maybe just about make out natural colour and non-chill filtered on the back as well. It's 46% ABV, so it's literally a perfect or near perfect integrity bottling. I say near perfect, it is perfect. There's nothing else that we can ask for that they haven't given us. It's objectively pitch perfect. In 2026, this is just literally a bullseye when it comes to representing a Scotch whisky. Now, some of you might say, oh, I'm not really sure about a finish. Does it really have to be a finish? But we're getting picky here because the vast majority of Scotch that's matured across the planet, across the landscape, across the planet, it can only be matured in Scotland. But you know what I'm saying, is going to be in bourbon barrels. Sherry casks are very, very precious and very expensive. So we have to accept that there's going to be a lot of stuff out there that's going to be matured in bourbon and then shift and move in different directions some time before it realizes bottling. Let's get this open because I vividly remember my time with Royal Brackla 12. I felt, while it wasn't the most complex, I felt it was a very good, solid, affordable sherry cask whiskey that came out at a time that there were not many affordable sherry cask whiskies available. A lot of things from Dewar's is done very, very well. So you can see that we're on a ramp here. We've kind of started off with a very, very soft Glen Cadam, soft Glen Mory, moved up a wee bit on the Glen Mory Palo Cortado, so there's a bit of sherry coming into the mix. And now we're moving into some dry Oloroso finish here. This should glug. Lovely colour. Lovely kind of copper, almost kind of mahogany sheen from the glass. As much as I appreciate a bright yellow, a gold, a pale whiskey, as long as it says natural colour on the label, we can enjoy what the actual colour is. Quite a step up in nose. I shouldn't say a step up, a step change. I'm going to pop it down, leave it for a second, chat to you guys, just let it breathe for a moment. No shame in missing a Glenmorangie. There's no shame in Jimmy making it very clear how he feels about it as well. Carragher is saying, compared to the 65 pounds old Pontley 16-year-old last week, that was a wee bit of a disappointment to me. I went back to that as well. I've had another dram out of that bottle and it hasn't got any better, Carragher. I think it's just a bit simple. There's not a lot of complexity to it. I think it's just a bit. It's one of these kind of smooth things. Mick is saying he's talking about the Cardhu band, the dark green label, which is the port cask. Glen Mory. Justin Wan was guessing Glen Scotia, but no. And then he goes on to say Royal Brackla, good shout. That's a proper whiskey label, says Jimmy Legg. It's very, very, very confident and deliberate, isn't it? Well, except for the sherry bit, he goes on to say. Keith McKenzie is saying always on offer in travel retail in 1 litre bottles, but the 18-year-old Palo Cortado is sub 100. And the last bottle I picked up at 80, a cracker. You're getting the 18-year-old Royal Brackla for sub £100, Keith. How? Jimmy saying, I'm almost certain I've never had a Brackla, just to spite Roddy. We'll need to fix that, buddy. We'll need to get a wee blind into your hands. And Danny Hebbington is saying the Royal Brackla 18 Palo Cortado is a banger. I agree, but I'm not paying 200 quid for it. If somebody's able to pick it up for less than 100, that's nuts. My pal Gino from Canada is celebrating being a member of the Barflies for 73 months and saying flight booked for Glasgow Whiskey Festival. Gino, I can't believe you're coming. That's brilliant. That's great news. I suppose, is it too much to hope that you'll be running shotgun with your pal Graham Young as well? It'd be nice to welcome you, buddy. Cheers. Danny Hemmington saying the Royal Brackla 18 Palo Cortado is a banger. I picked that one up, didn't I, Danny? Sorry. And Andy is saying, well, that's my Balvenie return to the back of the Whiskey Nook. Time to pour my celebration dram from yesterday, Springbank 18. Once tasted, never forgotten. Yeah, I don't think we're forgetting our Springbanks. I think that would be very unlikely to appear in the lineup tonight, Andy. Once more, cheers to you, fella. You deserve to celebrate. Okay, let's get our nose in our Brackla 12 Oloroso finish. It's been about 5 years since this appeared on the vPub. Well and truly forgotten, despite being a bullseye in presentation. So when I said a step change, we've got that sherry thing coming out the glass again, but what we've got is that really quite obvious, I was almost going to say generic. Generic is not the right word. Much more a stereotypical sherry nose. But it's very sweet. So it's almost like sherry from an American oak cask, or in this case, more likely to be matured in bourbon and then finished in Oloroso, but those vibes. So we've got clear sherry notes coming out. There is a chocolatey side to this as well, but we've got cherries in this. We've got dried fruit, but it's darker dried fruits. We've got prunes in this, sultanas, that type of mix. It's less spiced and less nutty and more softer and kind of ripe fruit. Figs. Fig rolls specifically. If you've ever nosed or you know the fig rolls, I'm maybe being a bit British about, but it's a fig roll is a biscuit. I don't even know the last time I saw a fig roll for sale, let alone tasted one. But you know what I'm talking about. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. There's also quite a bright orchard element. It's a very fruity whiskey. I'm all over the fruits in this one, aren't I? Let's search elsewhere. It's obvious oak. Not getting a lot of cereal from it. It noses like something expensive. It noses like something decadent and premium. So let's imagine that you had someone who loved their Macallan now. Macallan's going to tend to be a vatting of full maturation stuff, of course. But if they're being asked to spend 80 or 90 pounds on Macallan 12 and only getting a 40% experience from it, this is a fully natural Scotch whiskey, much cheaper. And I would argue with a bit more presence on the shelf too. Okay, let's have a wee sip of this one. Okay. Super interesting. I've been completely charmed by that Palo Cortado Glen Mory. Complexity, lots to talk about. You know, flashing all the synapses and just almost to the point that I had to slow down and take a beat before I started to talk about it. This is slightly different. This is a little bit like a whiskey that has, and it's not to suggest that you're not going to find complexity in this, but at first blush, everything is just delivered in a bit more linear fashion. This is a whiskey that is objectively tasty, delicious, easy, deep. There is resonance here. There's nice bass in it, but it's not particularly vibrant or alive. It's quite linear in experience. It's nice. It is nice. I always have to caveat with the uncorking thing. It's the first dram out the bottle. I think if you sat with this, you'd get a wee bit more. I've started to just, there's a wee bit of a hint of a nice kind of coffee and treacle thing on the finish there. Towards the end of the development, there is some richness. It really is. It's like cold, a wee bit of a cold coffee grinds even. So there is things in here. There are things happening. But I think the detail and the complexity and the precision of the Palo Cortado, maybe you could argue I should have had it the other way around. That said, a wee bit like, I don't know, one of the Glenturret Triplewood, maybe like a Thompson Brothers TB BSW, maybe like Clydeside's Napier, maybe like there are sherry matured or sherry styled whiskies out there that you can pick up for an affordable price that do a decent job. Sherry's always going to be at its best when it's been allowed to marry and linger for a little while. I really don't think that sherry maturation can be done in a hurry. It's certainly difficult to do it successfully with a quick kind of finish. I think if you're looking for a typical excuse me. I think if you're looking for a typical high quality sherry Scotch whiskey, I think that you're going to have to look for something that's been left and been given some amount of time. That said, for 60 quid, this is not going to let you down. It's a beautiful bottle to gift. It's not going to let you down on the flavour. We know it's all integrity forward. I just think that if you're looking for complexity, detail, if you're a geek who really wants to kind of sit and swim in it and ponder and analyze, there is a linear side to this. Coffee, chocolate, cappuccino vibes on the finish. I'm not going to suggest flat. That's cruel. It's not flat. It's objectively good. I think it's been proven to be a wee bit shy on the back of that Glen Mory, and I never thought I'd say that. Keith is saying, got into the RB hoping, Rob Brackla hoping Roddy would let me join the club. The 15, no one has been allowed to join that club since the night it was founded 10 years ago or more. 15 and 18-year-old exceptional casks kick any premium Macallan into touch. That's amazing. I would agree with you there. Talking about Palo Cortado, says Greg. Looking forward to get me one of the new 4 Sherry Quadrilogy. Quadrilogy? What are they calling it? Message retracted as I was mid-reading it. Okay, Greg, I'll maybe be able to pick it up. Jimmy Leg is saying that whiskey is the opposite of the man that loves it. It's simple. Have you tried it, Jimmy? Glenn Duncan has bought me a dram. Thank you very much, Glenn. How are you keeping? Nice of you to drop in. Glenn's in Australia. Hi, Roy. We'll be watching on replay tonight. But can we raise a glass to remember the brave men and women for Anzac Day on the 25th of April here in Australia and New Zealand? Very sacred day, lest we forget. So obviously you're tuning in on the 24th. So you're looking ahead to Saturday, my friend, and you would like to do the honourable thing, and I will gladly join you in that and raise a wee glass for everyone on Anzac Day on the 25th of April. Cheers to you and your buddies down south. Thank you, Glenn. Cheers. And now you're picking up on the replay again, Glenn. It's nice to have you in. I hope you're comfortable, buddy, and I hope things are going well for you. Brian is in. Brian Caballis is in, saying, lest we forget. And Malt Metal Mick is saying, per adieu ad astra. I would love to know what that means, Mick, but you can maybe help us out. Ad astra. I know what that means. Per ardua. Highland Hamish is in, saying Slancha from Inverness. Good to see you, Hamish. I hope you're keeping well. Hi, Anzac Day on the 25th. Terrific stuff. I've finished it. I've managed to get through the glass, and I shouldn't say that. I've managed to get through the glass. I've managed to enjoy my time sipping the whiskey. I'm glad to have the Royal Brackla 12 back on the shelf again. If I need something that's soft, easy, approachable, sherry, that type of thing, and also something that is quite impressive in its presentation. That's natural colour after all. It's beautiful colour. I'll be able to share it like I did the last bottle. But I think maybe that's the reason I forgot this whiskey, is that the complexity that maybe its 18-year-old sibling brings isn't there on the 12-year-old. And that's nothing to do with the fact that it's 12 versus 18. There's plenty complex 10 and 12-year-old whiskies out there. I think when we have bourbon and then we finish in sherry, I think this is pretty much as good as it's maybe going to get. Deers do a good job. They do an amazing job with Altmore. They do an even more amazing, arguably, job with Craigellachie. And it was wonderful to see the rebrand and the real endeavour on Royal Brackla. I wish I could get the 18-year-old closer to the price that was suggested earlier. If I could get that Royal Brackla 18 for around £100, I'd be all over it. P.S. Nico is saying, let's be honest, the 12-year-old Brackla is just too expensive. Well, I paid 54 quid, £52 actually, 52 and change, I think it was. And I don't think it's too expensive at that point. We're talking about single malt Scotch whisky, fully natural. We don't want cheap whiskey. What we want is the best whiskey they can make at a fair price, right? We want it to be flavour forward. But I think that times are tougher now for any producer, and the competition is out there. If we wanted to find a real banger of a sherry matured whiskey for £52 today, we can do it. It might mean that we end up at the door of an independent bottler, but so be it. So where are we going to go from there? How are we doing on time? I'm very mindful of time tonight just because I want to keep things neat. I went through the questions for the quiz at the end tonight, and it's pretty brutal, I'll be honest. I was looking at the questions going, oh my goodness, is there going to be any respite? And they seem to be quite hard, but it's difficult to judge until we all play along together. So there will be a quiz. I'm not cutting it short that much tonight. But I've got 2 more bottles, at least, I think, that I want to share with you tonight to continue the discussion. The next one I'm going to hold up and share with you, I think, is been forgotten for a completely different reason. We've touched on the reason tonight that it's been forgotten, but I think this is fully on the back of this. I think that when there is just so much choice available out there generally, it becomes very, very difficult to keep up with everything. And even our favourites, we let them slide. There's natural churn to our perma shelf. There's natural churn to our top 5 or top 3 or favourites, whatever it may be. There's so much choice. But what about when even within the one brand, one distillery's core range can be so flooded with selection, with variety, that what was once an anchor, a stalwart, is forgotten. If I was to take you over to Islay, would that help you? Would that help you guess where I'm going to go with this one? The first ever recycled review that I put out there had this bottle in it. And I remember having a wee bit of a complaint in that recycled review that it was good, but it wasn't as good as it used to be. Maybe that's me reflecting on having some kind of really early experiences with this bottle. And as time went on, it seemed to get a wee bit lesser, a wee bit lighter, a wee bit more kind of insipid. Sometimes I look at that and I wonder if that was me moving along. But if you were to look at the whiskey-based scores for this whiskey I'm just about to show you, over the years, it would map that general feeling, almost as if it was a consensus. So I'm talking about Ardbeg. I'm talking about a bottle that's not been on the vPub, I think, ever, despite it being core range Ardbeg. I don't think I've ever had it on the vPub. If I have, and you remember it, call me out on it and I'll apologise. I am sorry. But the bottle didn't exist on my shelf. In recent years, it's not been around here until I bought it for this topic. I'm talking specifically about Ugi. Now, there are a number of Ardbeg core range bottlings right now. The 10 is the anchor point, of course. Sorry, this is not Ugadal. This is the one I've chosen for tonight's Corryvreckan. I do apologise, a bit of a brain fart on my side. This is Corryvreckan. And around the 10-year-old, we've got Ugadal and we've got Corryvreckan. There's a few others as well. We've got Wee Beastie and Anno and all of these types of things. But this Corryvreckan has been around for 20 years. So I'm getting the two things confused. I was getting the two higher ABV Ardbeg core ranges confused there. I was talking loudly about Ugadal, but the one I've chosen for tonight is Corryvreckan. And the reason for that, and when I hold up that subtitle that says ubiquity, think about this. We were already in a position where we were looking at this Corryvreckan and against the Ardbeg 10 and saying, why would we pay the extra money for this? Because it's 57.1% ABV perhaps. Why would we go that bit extra? But of course, when we tried it, we realized that there was much, much more extra depth, extra weight, extra engagement in the bottle. But recently, what has Ardbeg done? They've brought out a 61.7% cask strength. So now we're looking at it going, well, where does that leave the Corryvreckan? Where does it put it? Well, of course, excuse me, the difference is the casking. So if we look at Ardbeg 10 cask strength, we've got fully bourbon matured whiskey, and it tells us that it's fully bourbon matured. They tell us that it's fully bourbon matured. What we've got with the Corryvreckan is a slightly different take on that, where there's some European oak in the mix, specifically French European oak. 57.1% ABV. Sorry, I'm just looking back to see when the first bottling was brought out of this one. Yeah, it's coming up on 20 years, 2008 it looks like. So 18 years that this bottle has been around. So this has been a member of the Ardbeg core range for a very, very long time. But likewise, whether I'm talking about Ugadal or Corryvreckan, I also don't think that it's appeared on the vPub at all in the last 8 years. And I'm going to struggle to get it open because I've broken the tab on it. So there's forgotten, and then there's completely not even acknowledged. Let's just go for the brutal, so see if we can get the seal off or cut it with a knife. There we go. Here we go. clean glass. We are going to get a nice glug from this one before I pour it. Sometimes I suffer from peat blindness. I think everybody knows that. I think the more that when you admit that that's a thing, it's not a thing all the time. Sometimes you can pick up subtle peat smoke and things like that. It's not complete blindness, but sometimes somebody can pour you a peated dram and it just completely, you miss it. But I've only taken the cork off this bottle and I'm getting peat smoke. So a gorgeous, gorgeous, earthy, warm, welcoming fireside peat smoke. And sorry to talk over the nice bottle glug there. 57.1% ABV, very deliberate bottling strength, by the way, in Corryvreckan. Just so happens to be exactly 100 degrees proof, imperial as well. So much peat smoke in the air right now, really, really smoky whiskey. I might have poured the last two bottles in the wrong order. I think you would pour that blind for anyone and hold it up to them. I think number one, they would know that they were an Islay. Number two, they would be drawn to Southern Islay. But just even on the nose alone, I think they would know that they're in good quality Southern Islay. There's no age statement on Ugadal or Corryvreckan, right? We don't know the age of what makes it up, and that's prone to conspiracy because it means that we suggest that every year that goes by, they're getting younger and younger. The nose on this is exquisite. Absolutely exquisite. There's no rough edges to this. There's no sense of something that's overly young or been bottled too early. It's deep, rich, behind the obvious big hit of earthy peat. And for me, Ardbeg's often got a cold kind of soot type smoke note to it, but this is warm and earthy. But behind it, there's this really nice citrus. It's sweeter than lemon, maybe sweet lemon, but it's leaning into like blood orange and grapefruit. Almost like there's a lovely kind of bitter. If you ever added bitters to a drink, to a cocktail, citrus bitters, or Aperol, if any of you know Aperol, maybe you add, depending on how you make your Negroni, you might use Aperol in various cocktails, sometimes in a Negroni, but it's got that kind of citrus bitter quality to it. There's a beautiful, this could have been last week's vPub topic as well, there's a beautiful minerally coastal saltiness. So it's clean and fresh. I knew I liked this. I knew that I'd always liked this. I was a wee bit nervous that it changed, that it just become a journeyman whiskey, but it's not. This is effective whiskey. £65, something like that, 60, 66, 67. It's up and down in price all over the place. But it's 57.1% ABV. Let's have a wee sip. Oh, it's just bloody lovely. Why aren't there? It's a wee bit dry. It's a wee bit challenging. There's a bit of salt and vinegar on there, but objectively lovely. Why am I picking whiskies that I can rant about and say this is horrible, this is not worth your money, don't spend it? I'm not here to sell whiskies. There's no links to the whiskies that I don't make any money out of you guys buying it. It's not what I do in the vPub. Everything I buy, I'm buying because it's about a topic, it's about something I want to share with you. I think I'm probably usually good at avoiding bad whiskies because we know our way around how to read a whiskey and that type of thing. In the past, of course, I've spent money on whiskies that I know I'm unlikely to drink, because if I don't judge them, if I don't try them, I don't share them with you, how do we know? And I guess I say all that to say, apologies if everything I'm trying is lovely and it's a bit tedious. But this is lovely. I mean, it's a big whiskey. This is going to be challenging to some people that you want to share it with. But people who like a bit of smoke, people who like a bit of potency behind that smoke. This is drying as well, very drying. So that kind of grapefruit note I was talking about is really forefront. If the fruit in this is anything, it's citrus. The finish is a wee bit short, I will say that. The finish does drop a little bit. I think there's still a bit of youth on this. I don't think there's too much in this vatting and the makeup of this whiskey that's particularly old. I think that what they have here is mostly quite young components, and then a wee bit of cask to just give it that kind of roundness and to marry it together. I think they've done okay with that. But I think the place that it shows up is on the finish. It goes a wee bit saccharine sweet. Petrichor. Outside, kind of some kind of picnic bench almost, where the rains come down on a really warm day. You're sitting next to a warm car park and warm grass, and the rain comes down and you get that smell, that petrichor in the air. But you're very much coastal. You're near the sea. There's a fire burning. It's comforting. It's warm. There is some sweetness. It does let down a little bit on the finish. And it's not because I'm trying to find a negative thing. It's quite dramatic. Some older whiskies in there maybe would help kind of draw the finish out a little bit better. It turns into quite a saccharine, artificial sweetener type sense on the finish. But overall, we've got a big, bold bruiser of a coastal Southern Islay whiskey, and it's been there for almost 20 years. And I may be proven wrong on this. Whether we're talking about Ugadal, its sibling, or the Corryvreckan, I'm not sure either have appeared on a vPub. Peter is saying, just realised I had some Corryvreckan in the bottle. I've joined you, Slancheva. How are you getting on with it, Pete Head? What vintage would you say it is? Because this is obviously going to be a very recent bottling. Christian Jensen, Yeasty Boy, good to see Christian. He's saying, I've got to join you in this one. The Corrie has been on the very top of my go-to list for years, but I haven't had it for half a year. Looks like I'm on point with this one, Christian, if it's one of the forgotten for you. Overland Rams Chuck is saying, Ardbeg's Oogie was my first true Scotch whiskey love. Do you still love it today, Chuck? Jimmy Legg is saying, if I'm honest, I still prefer the 10-year-old Aquaviti, but I do really like the Corryvreckan. So I'm glad that we're in Jimmy Legg territory. Malt Metal Mick. Mick is saying, we're all enjoying our whiskey whilst watching you enjoy yours. Never apologise. It's a weird thing, right? But I enjoy it. When I'm watching this type of content, it seems strange. It's difficult to explain. But thank you, Mick. Keith McKenzie is saying, ideal for a Boulevardier. A Boulevardier, it's a cocktail, isn't it? And I know I'm not pronounced it well. Corryvreckan, Aperol and sweet vermouth. Large ice cube optional. I'm in the mood for it. Sounds like something that you could sip on that picnic bench I was talking about, right? Jesper is saying, so easy to get lost in the Ardbeg market and circus. Had the Ardbeg Spectacular last month and it really struggled to understand why they named it that. So underwhelming. I think that's been almost like it's weird with Ardbeg and most of their special releases. Some of them have been amazing. Dark Cove was, I think it's everyone's favourite, I think just because of how much of a very, very different take on Ardbeg that was. I also love the 8-year-old committee release, the For Discussion. That was a huge outturn. I think you can still buy it today. I think it's worth your attention. I loved it. As Jimmy says, the 10-year-old though is so rock solid and bolstered by the Corryvreckan and Ugadal over the years. The Anno is weaker for me. I think it's too sweet. I think it's just not an Ardbeg that I connect with. The Wee Beastie is great value, but it can be a wee bit odd. I think Ardbeg special releases, the biggest competition is their core range. Jimmy Legacy and Old Peat is often non-existent peat. Young and short peat is what I normally look for. I hear what you're saying. So what you do is you get that kind of fennel breakdown over the years where the peat becomes quieter and quieter the older the whiskey is. But what it can do is it can sometimes, it breaks down and it leaves this kind of savoury umami note alongside when it's in a lovely old refill cask especially. You get this tropicality that builds alongside it. So you get this nice kind of umami, distant, kind of almost like a smoke on clothes rather than in your face type smoke alongside that tropicality. And it's just dreamy, Jimmy. It's just so dreamy. Unfortunately, it's the style of whiskey that not a lot of us can afford, and I'm one of them. Justin is saying the Corrie is really the forgotten one from the Ardbeg range. When everyone is raving about the Oogie, the Corrie is sitting quietly in the background doing its thing. And when I was introducing it tonight, I introduced it as the Oogadal, right? I'd even forgotten that it was the Corryvreckan I was introducing. Graham Young is in. He's here tonight. Good to see you, buddy. Corryvreckan in the Glassmine is a 10 years ago bottle and open for all that time, and it's still perfect. Here's to that, Graham. I never have any fear about the amount of time the whiskey is open, unless it's an old whiskey, a precious, expensive thing. As the level's gone down, I'm very, very careful to kind of consider it. But I think it's much more to do with the amount of times that you open it and exchange the air, recycle the air in the bottle. If you keep something tight and you store it well away from direct light, direct sunlight, keep the temperature pretty cool and things, in my experience, and I can't guarantee it for everyone, but in my experience, whiskey is pretty stable. Greg is saying, hope to try the Ardbeg 10 cast strength, but don't know where. Somehow, though, maybe more excited by the new unpeated 12-year-old Ben Romack. Sorry, not sorry. Loved Sertug's note. Sertug is the whiskey enthusiast. So, Greg, does that mean it's not making it to Paris? Not making it to France? Alan Smith is here. Good to see you, Alan. I've had the Barflies hoodie on the other day. My wife asked me if that is cool attire in the whiskey world. I said very. Was your wife not quite taken by it? Is it not cool attire in the world in general? Maybe she's just annoyed that you didn't get her one. Jimmy Legacy, and I agree with you on the very old Pete, but as you say, who can afford it? Yep. David in Portugal is saying Glengarry is forgotten or just a secret. We don't want to be spoiled. I think it's going to be interesting as well, David, to see the way Glengarry is going in the future with that investment, that return to floor maltings, direct fired wash stills. These are interesting things to happen. These are moving away from efficiency and towards old school flavour, charm, and distinction, right? Mike Duracourt is in Aquavite. Wrap your lips around the bottle and suck out the air before quickly putting the cork on. That's how I saved all the whiskies I share with you, bud. I can't wait till the next time. Almost trying to make a vacuum or something. I'm sure it works for you, Mike. I'm sure it works for you. Okay. Ardbeg Corryvreckan. Forgotten. I'm glad to have it back on the shelf again. It's going to be a nice one to pour. I've got some nice kind of peaty whiskies to pour it alongside to really put it to the test. But I have to say, on arrival, development is good, very good, better than I expected, better than I remember. But the finish, does dive. Indulge me for a second. I don't remember the Ardbeg 10 cask strength, all from bourbon cask, having that same huge drop off. So I'm only going to pour a little half teaspoon of it in the same glass. Apologies. It's a wee bit quieter on the nose, a little bit sweeter, but a bit of icing sugar on this, on the nose on this one. Really quite outdoors, icy cold on the cask strength, Ardbeg 10 cask strength. It's a very outdoor style whiskey. Cold peat, blue fire smoke almost. Still lovely. Let's have a wee sip. Big juiciness. Lots of vibrance. Oh my goodness. The Corrie does have competition, and it's cannibalism. And the finish on the 10 cask strength is just going on and on and on. What a remarkable difference. It's nothing to do with my palate tonight. Objectively, that short finish was real, because now just a wee teaspoon of the 10 cask strength, I have to say there's nothing in it in price. £5 or so. I think the new 10 cask strength, maybe it's the 10 years age statement, maybe it's the all bourbon maturation, but it is eating the Corryvreckan's lunch. On arrival, the flavours are different, but in terms of experience, they're quite similar, if that makes sense. Development not too far apart, but there's a vibrant juiciness in the 10-year-old. Ripe fruit, sweeter fruits. It's much more alive. It's much more effervescent. And the finish is going on. It's easy to taste. There's no breakdown. None of that kind of saccharine, artificial sweetener bitterness. Sweet kind of bitterness. You know what I'm talking about, artificial sweetener, that thing that it does on the finish. It's not there. If you were given a choice between Corryvreckan and a 10 cask strength, and they were a similar price on the shelf, I think it's a no-brainer. I think you would go with the 10 cask strength. Maybe that's an age thing. Okay. Graham Fraser is in. Good to see you, Graham. How are you keeping, big guy? He's saying, I was at Glen Mory last week. It was fascinating to see their innovative approach to whiskey making. Now, this is Beam Suntory we're talking about, an innovative approach to whiskey making. I think Glen Mory has almost been treated in that setup of Beam Suntory as like a skunk works. I'm fascinated to see how it develops, Graham. Look forward to speaking to you soon about it. I would go back on another Oogie anytime after I get finished exploring American single malts. I don't know how that's going to happen. I think it's an endless pursuit. I wish you the best of luck with it, Chuck. David Barnes is saying, still getting over Peter Lee charity tasting last Sunday and Whiskey Monday and Tuesday in Campbelltown, but staying up for the quiz. Safe journey tomorrow. Thank you, David. It was nice seeing pictures of you as you enjoyed yourself. Especially, I saw you out at the Kwang Tung restaurant with the Lees last week as well. It was great to see you, buddy. All right, before we get into the quiz at the end, we're just coming up to the 2-hour mark, but I want to just kind of hold something up as a last dram before I go. And I want to talk about, we've talked tonight about rebranding and being kind of forcibly reminded about things we might have forgotten. We've talked about when brands make it easy for us to forget them, but we also have talked about when it's our fault with the Royal Brackla or the Ardbeg Corryvreckan or something like that, where they're actively trying to make something that's pretty integrity forward. And yet, maybe through just sheer choice or the fact that it becomes a wee bit ubiquitous in our eyes, we just forget it. What about when we've chosen to forget? What about when we have chosen to vehemently boycott something and got so extreme about it that we've bitten off our own noses to spite our faces? Now, I think that when we will not be abused, we need to speak loudly. We need to be vocal when we see things being overcharged for, when we see greed, when we see arbitrary, silly, stupid pricing. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to think, here he's going to slip into talking about Diageo again. Well, there's a lot of producers out there over the years, especially over the last few years, that have, just displayed their true colours, told us exactly what they're thinking about, and they're not thinking about us. So we voted with our feet. Diageo make it very, very easy to talk about them because they make such bloody, clumsy, stupid decisions that I really want to be a fly on the wall in some of these meetings that they have at Diageo and just fathom how they come up with these utterly absurd concepts that nobody I speak to in whiskey, regardless of their place or position or sensibilities or perspective, can fathom. Nobody can fathom it. It's absurd. It's stupid, to the point that I spoke to 3 retailers in the last few months and asked them the last time they got excited about special releases from Diageo. It's not even a thing to them anymore. They are just absolutely exhausted by it. They can't sell them. Nobody wants them. Every time they come out, it's a new negative talking point. It is something that has just become so tiresome. Why is it so emotive for us? Why are we so upset about this when there's so much choice out there? Because Diageo are the biggest. They own the most. They control the most. The distilleries under the control of Diageo, despite everything I've just said, are making some of the most wonderful liquid. And if it wasn't for the independent bottling, we wouldn't be able to access it. Except we have forgotten something. Let me share. Gav's Drams is saying, good night, have a great weekend. Gav, thank you very much for dropping in and joining us, buddy. It's good to see you. Pedro's saying, have to leave a wee bit early today. See you next week and wish you all the amazing weekend. Barflies, Aquavita will catch up soon. Thank you, Pedro. I think some people are maybe a wee bit nervous about the quiz tonight, but I think honestly, you might be right to be. I like the 10-year-old cast strength over the Corrie, says RB Milk, who's bought me a dram. But I would buy the Corrie if it was priced more like the Oogie. So it is a wee bit more expensive, isn't it? Hey, thank you very much for the dram. That's very, very generous of you, my friend. I think it might be the first time, RB Milk, that I've welcomed you in. Thank you for the dram. Cheers. Jimmy's saying I'm not upset. Okay. I'm going to hold up a typical bottle. Now, I do, despite everything I've said about Diageo, about special releases and things, you might be surprised if you came in here and you looked at the shelves and you said, well, wait a minute, Roy, come on, you're not really boycotting, because I can see a lot of special releases here. I can see Lagavulin, I can see Talisker, I can see yada yada, I can see Craigamore, more and more. You would see Diageo special releases, and that they would be amongst many, many other Diageo bottlings, official Diageo bottlings. So the boycott is with a very small b. But when I started in my whiskey journey, the distilleries I fell in love with and the brands I fell in love with tended to be very heavily weighted towards the classic malts, the flora and fauna, the special releases. I loved the Diageo distilleries, and I still love them to today. What I don't love is how much we've been abused by Diageo with their stupid fast-track route to premiumization, to ultra premiumization, to uber premiumization. It's just, it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. And I remember one of the clearest illustrations I ever had was standing in the shop at Lagavulin on Isla, and they had 3 Kalila special releases, one year after the other, Fashil releases. and they had them on their own little shelf, kind of stuck to the wall, and they had the prices just almost going up over the years, almost like a visualization of a graph showing the increase in prices year after year after year, despite the fact that 2 years later they still had the previous releases available. It just seems really weird, really strange, and yet they continue to do it. We saw some softening with the 2025 special releases. I predict that we might see some further softening with the 2026 special releases, but we've already forgotten about them. We've moved on. They broke it. They had something that was precious and exciting that came out every year, and then they took the piss and they broke it. And now nobody cares about it. The distributors don't care. The retailers don't care. The enthusiasts don't care. The wider community just doesn't care. Global travel retail, we see swathes of heavily discounted Diageo special releases. Online, we see swathes of huge deep discounts to the point that it's sometimes greater than half-price discounts. It's incredible. Let me give you an example. And this is a gem of a whiskey. Here we have a 2020 special release, 6 years ago now, and in some markets, this is still ubiquitous. This is still available, and you can still pick it up. This was 95 pounds, something of that order, not too expensive. This is a Cardhu. Now think about this. When did you last see Cardhu from anywhere? You don't see it from independent bottlers. You certainly don't see much of it from Diageo, unless it's 40% or 43% Cardhu in the little square bottles, right? The official stuff, which is not worth your time or attention. It's very diluted, and it doesn't really give you much glimpse of what Cardhu does, and it makes you think that Cardhu is just another vanilla, also-ran workhorse distillery, and you wouldn't be wrong there if you were sipping the 40% stuff. But what we have here in the 2020 special releases is we have, and the ABV is very, very difficult to read on this, 56% it looks like. You can maybe see why I'm having such a difficulty. See the orange band down the bottom? That's the ABV there, just above my finger. Absolutely impossible to read. It doesn't tell us on the back. This is cask strength, natural cask strength. It tells us that smooth and honeyed layers with notes of spiced oak. And you can see the bottle sealed. I'm not going to open this tonight. This was about just under £100 when it came out, but I picked this up on secondary. I picked this up at auction for £50. £50 this year. I bought it this year, and loads and loads and loads of people. I also bought in 2020. I bought that Cardhu at full retail price. I also bought probably the biggest bargain we've had from special releases at retail, the Cragganmore 20-year-old. Yet another Diageo distillery that you virtually see nothing from. You don't see Cragganmore from independents either. It's a little bit like Oban or Royal Lochnagar or something. Everything is spoken for, so you're not going to see it. But that 20-year-old Cragganmore in 2020 came out at £120, which was a bargain, and it was delicious whiskey too. Unfortunately, you would have to pay a wee bit more than that, more than retail price is secondary today for the Cragganmore. I've still got some left there. It's lovely stuff. But this 11-year-old Cardhu, cask strength, 50 quid. It's the price it should be. It's the price. I've got one clean glass left here, and you can see that I'm enjoying this. I'm getting through this stuff. That's the price the Cardhu should be, because a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 13-year-old cask strength whiskey these days should be an affordable price. 50 quid, 60 quid, 65 quid. You know, if Diageo came out with this, it's 75 quid, would be, they might take a few years to get back up to being an excitable product again, or a product worth getting excited about, but I think we'd get back into it again. Right now, though, this is a tip from me. This is available at secondary for 50 quid. And you're not going to taste Cardhu like this from anywhere else. I've just picked up from reading the label. It said honeyed on the label, but there's no question this is light honey. Really quite nice, delicate, soft, ripe fruit. Soft grape, but lots of kind of lightly kind of oaky, sweet caramels, soft vanilla, white chocolate. There's a creaminess on the nose. These distilleries, it's not what's made, it's what's bottled. And when it's bottled, as lovely as this, and I believe that this is not footered with. There's no kind of finishing here. There's no messing around with cast. This is just pure ex-bourbon. And it is absolutely delightful. I challenge you to get a nicer, softer cast strength, more subtle, beautifully balanced whiskey for 50 quid. Oh, I love the little tick of aniseed, fennel, licorice. I've just said subtle, and yet there's like 100 different directions I could have taken that first sip. There's a vanilla, and there's a sweet mint vanilla, almost like a Tic Tac. A candy floss note, that sweet kind of really, really light honey. There's that aniseed again. Wow. This is the most subtle of things. It's kind of like if you were, you would be really trying hard not to be snobby or aloof as you're sitting across the table from somebody who's just early in their journey. You wouldn't want to say, I can't pour this for you because I think it's just a bit too subtle for you. You wouldn't get everything out of it. It'd be almost rude, right? But I think I remember tasting whiskies like this back in the day and struggling to understand. I think it took me much longer to work out why these would become so delectable, so lovely. It's an under the radar thing that people have forgotten about. We have willfully chosen to forget about this. But I think if we are willing to make peace with it, based on the fact that we're not giving Diageo the money, we're going to the secondary market to pick it up, or we're picking it up on retail or on sale or whatever discount, closer to the price that it should have been in the first place, then I think that's okay. Because I think we should never forget it's not what is made at the distillery, it's what is bottled and sold. At what price, at what presentation, in what way. Special releases, not all of them, but for the most part, they tend to come out in generic tall round bottles exactly like this. The cheapest bottle there is, this is like a £2 bottle or something, £3 maybe. It costs nothing, right? And yet they put this liquid in it, and they pretend that it's far more scarce than it actually is, and they overgild the lily, and they end up to the point that the market is not just left in abject apathy. We are choosing to cast them to the big pit of forgotten whiskies. We just don't care anymore because they have lost. They've betrayed our interest. Sorry for the Diageo rant, but I hope that there is some positivity in there, and I hope there are some things in there where you've been able to say, do you know what? I have access to auctions. I'm going to go along and I'm going to see how much I would have to pay to pick up some previous overpriced Diageo releases that probably I just chose to forget about, but now they're available in secondary, or now they're popping up on various outlets at heavily discounted prices. Just because it's Diageo, we don't need to boycott that. We can continue to boycott cynicism, greed, price gouging, and things on the new releases. But it doesn't change the fact that the whiskey can be absolutely immaculate. Hey, look out for a 2017 release of Chininic's 17-year-old. It was a super expensive whiskey when it was launched. Even 9 years ago in 2017, it was 200 and odd pounds. But it's absolutely sublime. It's not worth that money, not even close to that money. But if you can get it for 150 less, it's another one like this, another recommend. Is something that we may have forgotten about. Peter White is here. Peter, how are you keeping, my friend? It's been a wee while since I've seen you. Gailey C, 1929 is saying, but maybe it's even better if you put it in the freezer. There are some whiskies that I'm quite happy to play around with, throw over ice, freeze, do all these great things, because sometimes we're not after a dram to analyse, we're after a nice drink to relax with, and it's a different thing. I don't know if I would do it with this one, though. Nice to have you in, Gailey. Jimmy's saying, I just bought a Glengarry 18-year-old a Renaissance 4th chapter for $110 Canadian. That must be about 65 quid. Best deal I've ever gotten in Canada. Aquavitae Glengarry is so forgotten. You forgot it tonight. There is an argument that Glengarry could be in a list for a forgotten whiskey. Cardhu's 56%, so you've been able to read it better than me. Good to have you in, Bruce. Thanks for the help. 56%. So almost close to perfect ABV. Carol F is in. Carol, good to welcome you. Saying, did anyone try the Rosile 12-year-old from a few years back? I picked one up at auction at £70 last year, but still haven't got around to opening it. Please open it. Personally speaking, both the 12-year-old Rosiles, I think 2023 and 24, would that be right? They had one on 25 as well, at 14 maybe. But the two 12-year-olds, certainly true in the first of the two, a wee splash of water. It doesn't take much, just a wee bit of water, just really, really brings it to life. I think it's a beautiful whiskey. I don't know how much you would really say, oh, I get the the Rosile character. I don't think it's like that. It's just a good, well-made whiskey. Typically kind of Highland Speyside style, that kind of vibe. Time for a quiz and a wee sleep. Limburg, here we come, says Pete Head. That's Frank, give me a nudge to remind me. Keith McKenzie saying, came through Copenhagen recently and the shelves are full of special releases, dusty boxes, no price reduction. Maybe the prices appeal to our Scandi friends. No, it's not shifting. It's not selling. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, some of the feedback I've got is from big retailers that shift volume, and they just don't sell it anymore. It's just pure apathy with the special releases now. Greg's Whiskey Guide is saying, at Limburg and collector stands, if not tried yet, try Cardhu 27-year-old rare malts section. It was really something else. I can imagine it would be. Most of the rare malts would have been filled into cask. It's still strength as well, at receiver strength, Greg. Bruce Bernard is saying, I just Googled it. Thank you very much. But it's nice to have somebody on hand to Google things. Anyway, with Limburg in mind for tomorrow, I've gone over a wee bit longer. Of course I have. It's the vPub and it's me. But there is a quiz at the end. It is going to be a tough quiz. I would encourage you to please hang around, stay till the end. I know it's going to drop. Everybody kind of takes their leave towards the end of the night, and that's okay. It might be a tough quiz tonight, but remember, it's always just meant to be a bit of fun. It's nice when we get a 10 out of 10, but it also has to be kind of a special thing when we get a 10 out of 10 as well. So when I was in the mood to kind of go in and make the questions a wee bit easier tonight, I thought, no, let's just leave it. Let's go with it. let's see how you got on with the quiz at the end tonight. I'll remind everyone that tomorrow night, over on Jeff Whiskey, they're hosting the English Whiskey Awards tomorrow from 9 p.m. Please consider going along and supporting there. It's a grassroots, genuine, enthusiast-based, just exactly like the Online Scotch Whisky Awards initiative, and it will only survive if it has our support. They've had much more support than their inaugural year. They're looking forward to revealing some more things for us, some more categories and some more winners. I'm looking forward to seeing what the results are myself. So you can join that Jeff Whiskey channel. The link's pinned in the live chat tonight. You can click that and set a reminder, and maybe you can pick that up with Jeff and Vin and everyone tomorrow. Okay, let's get into the quiz at the end. I wish you the very, very best of luck. It will be a wee bit tricky. It starts out quite easy, but it gets harder as it goes on. Remember, it's always multiple choice, and it's always a wee bit of fun. Thank you to everybody that's still here, hanging out with us tonight. If you take your leave and it's quiz isn't for you, thank you for hanging out with us, and I'll maybe see you again in the future. Chris is here. Everyone is saying I'm not playing a quiz tonight as I'm still basking in my 10 out of 10 from last week. My ego needs all the help it can get. Ahoy, Jimmy Legg and Pete Heady's saying, everyone, Chris, play along quietly in the background. You can't damage your ego. It's been fortified fully now. Question 1, good luck everyone. According to the Ardbeg website, which of the following is part of the Ardbeg core range? I'm going to give you 3 options. I need you to tell me what is part of the official core range by their definition of core range. A, Ardbeg Wee Beastie, B, Ardbeg Trevan, 19-year-old, or C, Ardbeg Anno. Grain Malt James is here. Good to see you, buddy. I've been listening in the background while packing and organising. See you tomorrow. James, I'm already packed. The only thing that needs to go in the suitcase is the toothbrush in the morning, and my phone charger, 1 or 2 other pieces. Zip up the case. It reminds me I've not checked in. I need to check in. I need to write that down. So I've got another thing to do tonight before bed. Graham Young, you've been around here long enough, my friend. Look out for the visuals on screen. Do record. Mike is saying, is this going to be one of those all 3 answers? Mike. You've also been around here long enough. You should know a wee bit better, big guy. Ben Demon Hunter. Take a beat. Andy, take a beat. Okay, you're working it out. You're working it out. The quiz should get harder as time goes on as well, because the community is so much more knowledgeable as the years go by. Okay, I can tell you that Ardbeg Wee Beastie is a 5-year-old is absolutely part of the core range. However, Ardbeg Trevan, the 19-year-old, are currently on batch 4 of an annual release. It's not part of their core range. They call it a limited edition. But Anno is officially part of the Ardbeg core range these days, which means if you answered A and C or A or C, give yourself a point. Sometimes question 1, all 3 answers can be correct, and the spirit behind that is that nobody goes home on a donut. Nobody goes home with 0. But if there's a banana skin, you need to watch out. Question 2, which of these Scotch single malt brands features a boat motif? I'm going to give you 3 Scotch single malt brands, and I need you to tell me about the boat. We're talking branding here. We're looking for a boat motif. A, Bunnahabhain, B, Scapa, C, Cutty Sark. Graham is saying a hint from the boss got me a point. Good stuff, Graham. Whiskey Throttle Daniel is saying, oops, missed the first question. Don't worry about it, Daniel. You're here for the second. This Cardhu is an absolute charmer. I don't know if it's an easy one to recommend to everyone, but if subtlety, if purity, I need everyone to take a beat. You've all been playing a quiz at the end for a long time now. You know the role of the banana skins. You know to read the question. Cal Taylor is saying, I love that Cardhu limited edition, one of the few I took home in 2021 because it was on discount at Oban Distillery. It's nice that you've enjoyed it as well, Kyle. I couldn't believe it that I was able to go online when I was getting close to the end of this bottle, to able to go to auction and pick up a replacement bottle for half what I paid for it 6 years ago is nuts, right? And I know that somebody's losing out of that, but a lot of them made a hell of a lot of money over the crazy years as well. Okay. I can tell you that Bunnahabhain does have a kind of sailing theme. It's got the helmsman, of course, the stewardship himself at the boat wheel, steering the boat wheel, but there is no boat on Bunnahabhain. Scapa has a boat motif embossed on the bottles. Cutty Sark has a ship, but Cutty Sark is a blend, not a single malt. The answer is B. For all of you said B, there's a banana skin here as well. Scapa is the answer I was looking for. Question 3. Which of these Highland distilleries features a Palo Cortado finish as part of its core range? I'm going to give you 3 Highland distilleries. Tell me the Palo Cortado core range. A. Glen Mory, B. Deanston, C. Royal Brackla. I'm taking it, says Candlepin Jim. That might be the first time I've welcomed you here, Jim. It's nice to have you, buddy. George O'Brien is in. George, how are you keeping? Nice to see you on a 2 out of 2 as well. Well done. Romeo Etsy's 2. Lol, of course. Romeo Etsy, that looks like the first time I've welcomed you here. It's very nice to be able to do so. Scott Thor 2. I think that's a new name as well, Scott. It's wonderful to have you in. He's saying, I'm guessing A for Glen Mory. Maybe should be a banana skin in this one as well, Scott. Maybe take a beat on that one. Whiskey Throttle is in. Daniel, good to see you still hanging out with us for an A. Matt Fulick is in. Carol F is here, Overland Rams. Jesper is playing along. James Morgan. James, good to see you. Too Slow Rob is in. Whiskey with Molly. Ben, good to see you, big guy, as always. 18-year-old you're suggesting, helping people along there. Danny Hebbington going with a C on this one. Lachlan McKenzie is in. Tony Nelson going for a C. And Trevor Hedge is suggesting going for A. Good to see you playing along, Trevor. Sticks 1914 is going for an A. Take a beat, Sticks. See how you got on with another wee think. I know that Mike Molasses saying battery is die. I hope you're still with us, Mike. I know that we had a Glen Mory, Palo Cortado here tonight. But I was very clear when I discussed it was released in 2022 as a limited edition. I'm taking B, sorry, Aquaviti. A motif is a recurring, significant element, such as an image, sound, word, or idea that appears through a literary work, film, or piece of art to help develop a theme. It is B. Scapa is correct. It's B. It's correct. I can tell you that, of course, as we've already chatted about tonight, a lot of people raving about how good a whiskey it was as well. Me complaining about the price, only to be told that some people are picking it up for £100. I'm talking about Royal Brackla, specifically their 18-year-old. It's a Palo Cortado finish. You can hear that my throat is starting to give out, but it will last to the end, I'm certain of it. Question 4. Which of these distilleries is Diageo's smallest by annual capacity? So we're talking about litres per annum of alcohol. Which is Diageo's smallest? A. Royal Lochnagar. B. Oban. C. Brora. 3 Highland distilleries. Just tell me the smallest. Whiskey with Molly Ben is suggesting that the 21-year-old official Royal Brackla also has Palo Cortado, but the price is stratospheric, Ben. Vast majority of you are getting this absolutely spot on. I can't trick you. Obviously, Oban is the smallest when it comes to the inability to expand, but they're still able to make almost 1 million litres per annum. Brora is actually fairly big capacity. It's been brought back to life about 1 million litres. Excuse me. But Royal Lochnagar is still languishing its original capacity. It's been about 500,000 litres for years, and it remains to be the case. Still Diageo's smallest. Question 5. I'm just going to show you an image here, so you have to decipher what it is. You have to think about what we're looking at here, and then look at the small asshat. Then you need to decide where this location is. Are we looking at some kind of maltings in A, Scotland, B, Denmark, or C, Japan? A, Scotland, B, Denmark, C, Japan. Keith Mackenzie's on a 4. Overland Rams Chuck is also on a 4. Ted Brooks on a 4. Bowman on a 4. Tony Nelson, Brian Cabayas, Andy Hills, Greg's Whiskey Guide, all on 4. Terrific stuff. Scott Thor is going for B on this one. Bowman is going for B. Malt Metal Mick on B, but he's also suggesting it's a total guess. James Morgan is saying B, it has rye. B for brutalist looking place. Punt with B, says Lachlan Mackenzie. Very little deviation from B on this one. Jimmy Legg is also going for B along with Keith Mackenzie and Ted Brooks. And I can tell you that you're all spot on. What we're looking at here is the automated maltings, almost like updated take on Saladin boxes. This is fully automated maltings at Stauning, which is in Denmark, of course. Significant investment. I think it was about 10 million euro or 10 million pounds or $10 million, I don't know. Back in the day, under Distill Ventures, which was, of course, Diageo, but that's all been disbanded now. All the money has been pulled from everywhere, such as the fickle nature of these corporations. I wonder what the future is for Stauning ahead. I've got 1 or 2 Stauning bottles here. One of them is okay. The other one is, I have to say, fairly poor. But they did have a lot of potential. Be interesting to see what happens. Question 6, Angus Dundee. Owners of Glen Cadam own how many whiskey distilleries? How many? It's a very simple question. How many whiskey distilleries does Angus Dundee own? Well, we know it's 1. So is it A, just the 1? B, actually it's 2? Or C, it's 3, although 1 is not quite yet in full production? How many Angus Dundee whiskey? I'm talking about whiskey distilleries here, by the way. Obviously, specifically malt whiskey distilleries. Just the 1, 2, or 3, but 1 is not in full production. This is splitting the crowd a little bit here. It is splitting the crowd. There's lots of people in here adamant that it's B. Ben Demon Hunter has pointed out that there's a banana skin. And there is indeed a banana skin here. The question asks simply, how many malt distilleries does Angus Dundee own? And I can tell you, we already know they own Glen Cadam, but they also own Tom and Till. And they also own Chuanan, is it Chuanan? In China. And it's not quite yet in production. The stills are in. The stills were made in Forsyths and Speyside. They've been shipped across and installed. According to the Angus Dundee website, this is a fairly recent image from December 2025. So it looks like quite a massive scale distillery here as well. So we've got these kind of Scottish-based companies investing in these far-flung projects. It's really a wild time. It's going to be crazy to imagine how it's all going to play out. So I really needed you to answer C for this one, because it is 3 distilleries, although this one is not yet in full production. Question 7. Complete this following statement correctly. The first ever Scotch malt distillery to have drum maltings installed is either A, closed in 1983, or the first ever Scotch malt distillery to have drum maltings installed still has them on site, for B, or the first ever Scotch malt distillery to have drum maltings installed also boasts the first ever use of a spirit safe, for C. Which of those statements is correct? A, B, or C? It closed in 1983, still has drum maltings on site, or it also was the first to boast the use of a spirit safe. Jimmy Legacy, and I do not know this answer. Fact. Graham Fraser is answering C. I think Graham Fraser's on a bit of a time lag. He's a wee bit behind us now. Because he's asking if it is also including the one that's not in Scotland. I took a banana skin as a bottling plant, which isn't a distillery. I hope that means that you worked out okay on it. No idea, says Gailey. Guess B because I like the idea. James Morgan's going for B, along with George O'Brien, Steve Atkiss, Keith McKenzie, Daniel Whiskey Throttle. It's great to have these kind of names from the past. Daniel Whiskey Throttle in here from years and years ago. George O'Brien, George hanging out with us. Ted Brooks, B. Danny Hebington, however, and Bruce Bernard both going for C with us. Graham Young's going for B. And Mick is going for still on site, as in uses them or just there to use on tours. Ha ha ha. There you go, Mick. You're on the right train of thought. Sneaky, says James Morgan. I can tell you that the first ever Scotch malt distillery to have drum maltings installed was Speyburn. It did not close in 1983. Port Ellen is supposedly the first distillery to ever experiment with a spirit safe, which means that by process of elimination, Speyburn still has the drum maltings on site, but as was pointed out, they are not in operation. They're almost there today is a bit of a historical curiosity. So if you answered B, you're holding it together. There are still some people in here with full marks. Whiskey with Molly, Steve Atkiss, Tony Nelson, Ted Brooks, Gino Cumo, Graham Young, Brian Cabayas, Bowman. Fantastic. So many of you. Question 8. Which of the following malts comes of age in 2027? It's another way of asking of what's the founding year of this distillery, when did they start distilling, whatever. But which of the following malts comes of age in 2027? Really brutal question. A, Burnobeni. B, Benbecula. C, Balmod. Which of the following comes of age in 20... When I say comes of age, of course, just to clarify, I'm talking about 3-year-old whiskey. Burnobeni, Benbecula, Balmod. Burnobeni, Benbecula, Balmod. Very B distillery question. Bruce Bernard is saying B. Tony Nelson is saying no clue again. Ted Brooks is saying B. Lachlan McKenzie is saying Blee. Dan DVDW is saying B. Jimmy Legg is saying it better be B. Dartboard at the ready, says Steve Wilson. Good to see you, Stephen. Whiskey Throttle is guessing B. Ben Demon Hunter is going with B. Durer Court is saying ha. There's me wondering which one was true. 2009, different perception of age. Yes, coming of age. I'm talking about whiskey here, Mike. Keep your eyes on the prize. Keep it contextual. No idea, says Fairnight Walker. Going for B. Well, you've done the right thing. I can tell you Benbecula is absolutely the right choice. Believe it or not, Benbecula has already got 2-year-old whiskey, but by next year, 2020, no, so yes, next year, 2027, they'll have 3-year-old. But Burnobeni's been going since 2020 and theoretically has 5 or 6-year-old whiskey on site, whereas Balmod will take until 2028 to have whiskey that has come of age. B was the right answer as we move into question 9. Still a few 8 out of 8s floating about out there. There has been some attrition. Jimmy Legg is spot on. He's saying Roy loves alliteration. Which of these lists contain distilleries which are all in the top 10 with regards to size? And when I talk about size, I'm not talking about how many hectares they take up, or I'm speaking about capacity, how much they can produce. So if we go by millions of litres per annum of alcohol, which of these lists contain distilleries which are all of them in the top 10? A, Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, Glenmorangie. B, Dalmore, Dulhuin, Dulmunnock. Or C, Ailsa Bay, Glenord, and Roseisle. How do you like them apples, Jimmy Legg? Them alliteration apples. Scotland only, Kyle Taylor, absolutely. Scotch malt distilleries. A is Glenfiddich, Glenlivet, and Glenmorangie. B is Dalmore, Dulhuin, and Dulmunnock. And C is Ailsa Bay, Glenord, and Roseisle. When you say Ailsa Bay, do you include the grain distillery? Doesn't matter. Inconsequential, but let's just stick to the malt, Lachlan. I am under the impression that Ailsa Bay is friggin' huge, says Jimmy Legg. Well, you consider that Monkey Shoulder is the number 5 best-selling malt whiskey brand on the planet. Trevor Hedge is saying, I naturally think A, but gut says C. A little bit of attrition here. George O'Brien going for A, whereas Romeo Etsy is going for A and B. Bowman and Keith McKenzie is going for C along with Graham Young, Rob Too Slow. Why not A, says Greg's Whiskey Guide. I go with A even if I'm wrong. Whiskey Throttle is saying, really, Aquavite? Daniel, you've not been around for a while. There's an amazing amount of knowledge in our community now. It's very challenging to put together a quiz that isn't a complete walkover for everyone. It has to be a challenge to get the 10. Daniel, the rules of the vPub quiz at the end is that you can lean on the community. You can use it as a learning exercise rather than an exam that you fail. George O'Brien is saying, oops, C. He's done a wee bit of thinking. Now that he's changing from his original A to C. I can tell you that Glenfiddich is in the top 10, absolutely. Glenlivet is in the top 10, absolutely. And Glen Mory is not. It's just outside of the top 10. Dalmore is in the top 10. Dalhuen is not in the top 10, while Dalmunnock is, which means by process of elimination, it must be C. Ailsa Bay, Glen Ord, and Roseisle are all in the top 10. If you answered C, that is the correct answer, on the penultimate question. So now we go into the ass hat at the end. Whiskey with Molly. Saying Benbecula started distilling in June 2024 and just Googled it. June 2024, so that means I'm right. It comes of age in 2027, right? Next year. I think I'm right then. Whiskey Throttle is saying you're a genius. I think you'll find you're mistaken. How long does it take to put the quiz together? A, 30 minutes, B, 60 minutes, C, 90 minutes. I'll go with B on that one. It depends. I can put it together in half an hour if I dip into the questions archive. If I need to come up with everything from scratch, probably C is more likely, Jimmy. But good guesswork. Keith McKenzie's on a 9 out of 9. How, any others? Brian Cabayas, Gino Cumo, there are a few. Graham Young, wow, Canadians are up against each other. Bowman, 1999, Rob on a 9 out of 9 as well. Ted Brooks is on a 9 out of 9. It's a good chance of getting a 10 if you get the ass hat right. The ass hat is deliberately meant to be obtuse. You need to know the answer to two different things and put it together in order to get the ass hat, and sometimes it's just nonsensical. Tonight is an example of that. A for ass hat. If we include the closed distillery of St. Magdalene and the due to be revived Dallas Dew, how many Dal distilleries are there in Scotland? So Dal distilleries. St. Magdalene is a Dal distillery. Dallas Dew is a Dal distillery. How many Dals are there? We've spoken about a few of them tonight. Is it around the same as the number of A, malt distilleries owned by Inverhouse? B, around the same as the number of sons associated with 8 Doors Distillery? Or is it around the same as the number of C, operational malt distilleries on Islay? So in order to answer this ass hat of a question, not only do you need to have a rough idea how many Dal distilleries there are, so you're racing through your head to think about all the Dals that exist out there. Stupider enough to begin with, but the ass hattery of it is you need to match it up with the knowledge of how many malt distilleries are owned by Inverhouse, or how many sons are associated with 8 Doors Distillery, or how many operational malt distilleries are on Islay. And at that point, you match them up to work out what the right answer could be, and that's how tough it is to get your 10 out of 10. This is why it can only be, and it has to be, fun. Brian Cabayas, you're absolutely right. He's saying, can I open the Bible? It does not take months. I'm calling my psychic, says Ted Brooks. Oh my, that's a good ass hat, says Graham Young. It is tricky. I hated it. When I was setting up tonight and I went through the questions, I went, oh dear, I'm going to take I'm going to lose subscribers. I'm going to lose supporters for that ass hat at the end. Listen, can I help you a little bit? Can I give you some answers? I can tell you that the amount of malt distilleries owned by Inverhouse numbers 5 or 6, if you include Cardrona out in New Zealand. We've got Balmainac, we've got Speyburn, Knockdhu, Old Pulteney and Balblair. Is that them all? Did I get them all? There's one more. There's one more and I can't remember what it is. Anyway, it's either 5 or 6. Sons associated with 8 Doors Distillery is 7 sons. So the octagonal building, the octagonal table, so that the dad could sit with his 7 sons and none of them would be at the head of the table. And C, Operation Malt Distilleries on Islay. You might remember that from the last few weeks' quizzes where we've been talking about that. There were now 11 operational distilleries on Islay because Lag and Bay are now filling casks. So that means it's either 5 or 6, or it's 7 or 11. What are you going to go with? Jimmy Leg is saying, it's Whiskey Throttle, Daniel. Maybe that's why we've not seen you for a while, because you've joined and you've got a headache already, buddy. Come on, the John Wayne of whiskey. That's who you are. You don't get headaches. Jimmy Leg is saying, there's only one way you'll ever lose supporters, and I'll never tell you what that is. Whiskey Throttle once more is saying, I have to make a drink. That's the right thing to do. Go and make a drink. Okay. It's 100% B, says Whiskey with Molly. Okay. That's confidence, big guy. That is confidence. Fairnight Walker is also saying B. Gino is saying B makes sense. Brian Cabayas is saying B. But Andy Hills, Ben Demon Hunter, Bruce Bernard, Christian Jensen, Danny Hebington, George O'Brien, Steve Atkiss, Graham Young, Carl F., DVDW, Whiskey with Molly B. Everybody is just B. Jimmy Leg is saying B. I can tell you that Dalmore, Dalwhinnie, Dalmunnock, Annandale, Ballindalach, and of course the two that I've already mentioned there tonight, Dallas Dew and St. Magdalene, means that it is 7. It is B. How so many of you got that right tonight, I don't know, but I doff my cap to you. That's amazing. Well done, everyone. That means there's a good chance that at least somebody, I can't believe I'm about to put myself on full screen and I should just display my red face to everyone. But it does mean that somebody's got a 10 out of 10 tonight. Brian Cabayas is celebrating a 10 out of 10. Fantastic. Graham Young in Canada's got a 10 out of 10. Did Gino manage a 10 as well? Come on, Gino. Come on. Ted Brooks has got a 10 out of 10. Amazing. An 8 out of 10 for Jesper. Bruce Bernard also an 8, and Pete Head as well. Whereas Steve Atkiss is celebrating a 9 out of 10. Stephen Wilson, 7460, 2 out of 10. Stephen, don't you worry, my friend. You hang out with us for a wee while. This community, this crowd, by osmosis, you'll be smashing that score in no time. Thank you for being honest and playing along tonight. Not Too Shabby says Andy with a 9 out of 10. Come on, any other 10s? Just jumped again. Graham Fraser celebrating a 10 out of 10 is well done, Graham. Fantastic. We didn't doubt you for a second. Spilled my coffee, says Brian, celebrating his 10. Gino Camo did. Gino also got a 10 out of 10 as well. Fantastic. Whiskey with Molly slipped up tonight. Well done on a 10 out of 10s. It's rare for Ben to slip up. Keith McKenzie's on a 10 as well. Only the second time live. Well done, buddy. Well done, Keith. Tremendous. I have been away too long, says Daniel Whiskey Throttle. There is no such thing, my friend. Your stool has been here, sitting waiting for you. It's in the exact same place and condition you left it, my friend. Cheers for the fun, vPub, Roy, says Andy. Enjoy Limburg and see you in the next vPub. Yes, I'm up very early in the morning to catch a flight out to Germany again. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. One of the highlights of the year for me. I hope I bump into a few of you there. If I see you, maybe we'll get the opportunity to shake hands and say hello. Please come up and say hello. I need a quiz trainer, says Daniel. There's 100 quiz trainers in here tonight, buddy. Pierre is saying, and now I'm off. Heavy weekend ahead. Limburg, here we come. Thanks for organising as always, Aquaviti. Until all of you, see you next time. Slanjava. Frank, I'll see you tomorrow, my friend. Ben is saying, night all, enjoy Limburg. I will, Ben. And Jimmy has sent 10 Aquaviti gift memberships out to 10 random watchers along. Jimmy, thank you very much for your generosity as always, my friend. Mick is saying, thanks very much for the evening. Time for bed. Look forward to another in a few weeks after a family holiday, and enjoy your trip. Mick, I look forward to welcoming you back again. Brian Cabas is saying, safe travels. I'll see the Whiskey Mecca next month. Fantastic, Brian. Looking forward to it. 54 months too long, says Ben. Whiskey with Molly. Absolutely, buddy. Thanks for your support. My friend Lachlan is saying, thanks, Roy. And folks, have a good evening. Ta-ta for now. And Jesper is saying, cheers for a great vPub, Roy. Good night, all. And Jimmy Legg is saying, have fun with Frank. I'll have fun with all of them, including Frank. Jimmy, look forward to seeing you in Glasgow soon. Junior is saying, have fun in Limburg, buddy. Graham Young is saying, I have a great Limburg vicarious drams through you. Fantastic, Graham. I'll miss you this year. And there we have it. Again, another list of whiskies to talk about and reasons to talk about them. I always love this, hanging out with you tonight. It doesn't matter how we dice it or how we slice it. It's always the ability just to talk about whiskey and to talk about what we love about whiskey. And I know that it can get a bit geeky, and I know it can get a bit subjective, and I know that it can often just be from my perspective. But I hope there's some value in it for you. And I hope that sometimes you realise that, do you know what? There are things out there that I, too, have forgotten. Danny Hevden spot me a drama. Say 5 weeks at sea, no whiskey, limited internet. It's great to have Thursdays back. Cheers, Roy and the Barflies. Danny, we've noticed you back, and we missed you while you weren't here, my friend. Aye, it's nice to have you back. Thanks for the dram, buddy. Listen, I'm going to raise this glass to all of you that's joined me for tonight. I went probably 45 minutes longer than I wanted to tonight, but that's okay because I can sleep on the plane tomorrow, can't I? It's important that I'm looking after you and hanging out with all of you. It's a pleasure and a privilege for me always. I'll never, ever, ever take it lightly. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your enthusiasm. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for your welcoming, open-minded, generous, whiskey-sharing, beautiful natures. I'll remind you all until next week that you're very dearly loved. And until then, Slancheva. Cheers. Scott Thor's bought me a dram. Just slipped in at the last minute. Just popped up there. I have to say thank you, Scott. There's a wee dreep left in the glass. Cheers to you, fella. It was nice to welcome you tonight. Until next week. Cheers.